Stadium in Detroit, Michigan. It's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Tonight, Kirby Puckett leads the world champion Minnesota Twins against Cecil Fielder and the slugging Detroit Tigers. He has been the heart and soul of 2 World Series titles in Minnesota. And once again this year, 6-time All-Star Kirby Puckett continues to excel as one of baseball's greatest players. At .327, he's the top hitter on the Major League's top hitting team. And with him, 300 hitters Shane Mack and Greg Gagne, the slugger Kent Herbeck, and Chuck Knobloch, another 300 hitter. Kirby hoping to bring skipper Tom Kelly yet another World's Championship. Meanwhile, with an 0-6 start, sparks are finally starting to fly in Detroit. Baseballs have been jumping out of Tiger Stadium, and it's not just Cecil Fielder doing the damage. Rob Deere is second in the majors in home runs, and the slugging catcher Mickey Tettleton is a prolific home run hitter, and the big guy, Cecil Fielder, he's back. Friday hitting his first home run in a month, and now the Tigers are once again one of the game's highest scoring teams. The skies are clear over Tiger Stadium, but it is awfully cold. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball featuring the world champion Twins and the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers lost their first 6 games of the year. It's been a long climb, although they played much, much better lately in the East. Meanwhile, in the West, the world champion Twins also started slowly, but they have won 10 of their last 13. With a win tonight, they'll be 2.5 back. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller. Tonight, the Detroit Tigers. They lead the major leagues in home run hitting. The Minnesota Twins, they lead the major leagues in team batting average, .285. They've won 10 of their last 13 games, and they have hit over 300 in the process. They don't hit that many home runs, but they hit everything else, singles, doubles. And yesterday, an example, Brian Harper on a hit and run, hit it right where the second baseman had been. And that is typical Minnesota Twins baseball. Here with me is Joe Morgan. He knows all about that kind of style of ball. And, Joe, the Minnesota Twins are playing their best ball of the season right now.
Well, they're kind of like a complete player, a guy that does everything. They don't hit a lot of home runs, but they'll hit enough. They do not have the greatest speed in the world, but they use it well. They hit and run. They play defense. They do just about everything you can do on the field. Their pitching has not been as good as it's supposed to be, but when they get their pitching turned around, I think they will be a real threat in the West.
All right, quite a contrast in styles, because the Detroit Tigers, they like to go toe-to-toe, heel-to-heel. They slug it out with you. And Cecil Fielder, speaking of slugging, he is back. And after a month's drought with injury and everything other thing, he finally hit one on Friday night. And here it is. After a 64 consecutive bats without one, he went deep here at Tiger Stadium, and they say this weekend he is swinging the bat like Cecil Fielder, and that is something to behold. He had 95 home runs the last 2 years.
Well, one of the problems with the Tigers is that most people think of them, they only think of strikeouts. They do strike out a lot, but when they hit the 3-run homers, that's 3 quick runs on the board. And one of the things that they've done this year, they lead the league in scoring going into today's action. So they've been producing runs. Their pitching has been just death.
Sounds like we have a lot of scoring tonight.
Yes.
We're tired of these 2-1 games. Well, maybe a 10-9 tonight. What do you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to it, except Bill Kruger's been pitching well lately, too.
He's been pitching beautifully for the Twins. Really a real savior early in the year when they were in such a slump. He has not yet lost a game, and he'll be opposed by Frank Tanana, 2 very similar styles, and each will be trying to dazzle the other. Tanana and Kruger, the Twins and the Tigers. That's the Sunday night matchup coming up. Baseball from Tiger Stadium. It is freezing. Somebody forgot to tell him it wasn't still April. Here's the lineup for the world champion Twins. Shane Mack leads off in left field. Chuck Knobloch, second base. Kirby Puckett, center field. Chili Davis, the cleanup hitter, the designated hitter. Brian Harper, 3 hits yesterday, the catcher. Pedro Munoz, hotshot rookie, right field. Kent Herbeck at first base. Scotty Leyes is at third base. And hitting ninth, having his best year at shortstop, Greg Gagne. And on the mound, the wily veteran left-hander of the Tigers, Frank Tanana.
And Tanana will throw anything on any pitch at any time. He throws a variety of changeups. We've often talked about keeping the hitters off balance. He does a great job of that. And the defense behind Tanana will Rob Deere, Milt Kyler, Mark Carrion in left. Skeeter Barnes is at third. Fryman's at short. Phillips is at second base, and Fielder's back in the lineup. Kruder behind the plate, and Tanana on the mound.
And Frank Tanana is clothed with layers, and there is the current temperature, 42 degrees. It is supposed to get into the 30s. The record low for the day, 34 degrees, set 58 years ago. The wind chill factor in the low 30s, that's right now. But, hey, let's look on the bright side. Very small chance of rain.
Very small chance. May snow.
Hey, and they're saying 5 to 10 miles an hour for the wind. That is the fastest 5 to 10 mile an hour wind I have ever seen.
But it's supposed to slow down a little bit before the night's over.
Sparky Anderson seemed to be in pretty good spirits before the game.
Well, I had a great time with Sparky. Sparky's always in great spirits. You never know if they've won 12 in a row or lost 12 in a row. Sparky's, look at him right there. They lost yesterday 6-5. Look at him. Today's a new day. That's the way Sparky approaches every game. Whatever happened yesterday is over.
Getting around with Billy Muffet, his pitching coach there on the Tiger bench. And here is Shane Mack. Now, the Twins are starting 4 300 hitters in their everyday lineup, and Mack is one of them. 323, 5 home runs, and 20 runs batted in. And here we go from Tiger Stadium. Sunday Night Baseball is underway. Strike one to Shane Mack.
The first pitch tells you how Tanana will pitch these right-handed hitters. A lot of slow curves, turn the ball over, and a changeup.
And inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Now, when it is cold like this, Joe, and the pitcher comes inside, that is not fun, is it?
No, well, what you will see is, from Tanana especially, he will pitch inside, but off the plate inside, just to keep them honest. That makes the hitter open up a little quicker because he doesn't want to get hit on the fist. That opens up the outside for him.
And Mack into right center field. Chasing it down is Kyler. Mack will try for 2. He's got excellent speed. Phillips cuts off the throw and into Fryman, but much too late. And Shane Mack has his 6th double of the year.
This shows you how well Shane Mack is swinging the bat. He threw a fastball inside to set him up, then goes back outside. The catcher's low and away, and he lines it in the right center field. Good pitch by Tanana. Right on the outside part of the plate. Shane Mack does what you're supposed to do with left-handers who turn the ball over. Go the other way with him.
So Mack, the newly installed leadoff hitter in 1992. Remember, Dan Gladden had been filling that role for a number of years for the Twins. He's now here in Detroit, but on the disabled list with the Tigers. Here is Chuck Knobloch. Remember last year's Rookie of the Year, one of the World Series heroes? He is hitting .321. And there's a Tanana slow curveball in the dirt. Strike one swinging.
Knobloch is a good second-place hitter in that he can hit the ball to right field. And in this situation, he needs to take a shot to right field. So what Tanana does, throw him a changeup, which is tougher to hit the other way than, say, a fastball over the outside part of the plate or a slider.
And the Twins, as you pointed out in the open, there's manager Tom Kelly. Had great success with this ball club since he became installed as manager. If they need to hit the ball to the right side, they got a lot of guys who can do that.
Exactly.
And it's away from Kruder as Mack goes to third. Kruder didn't know where it had gone at first. Well, now Knobloch doesn't have to go to the right side.
Well, Tanana had made up his mind that he was not going to throw anything hard so he could hit it the other way, so he throws him a slow curve. This ball bounces right at the edge of the plate. Kruder tried to block it, but it hit off his shoulder and bounced down the third baseline, so very easy for Mack to move over to third.
The Twins have a team batting average of .285. Way ahead of everybody in the major leagues. But in the last 13 games when they've gotten hot, they're hitting well over .300 as a team. The infield stays back at shortstop and second base, and the fastball is too far inside, 2-1. Over at third base, Barnes and at first base, Fielder are pulled in a bit.
The way that the Twins have been playing lately, you have to just give them this run. You don't expect to strike out 2 hitters in a row, and since the Tigers are playing back, anything will score the run.
There's a foul that will come back out of play, and it is 2-2. There it is. is .318, the team batting average in the last 13 games. Not so many home runs, but look at the RBIs. Twins have scored 6 runs a game in those 13. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Chuck Knobloch. Kirby Puckett is on deck. The power comes up. Puckett and Davis. We've got some power. Not a whole lot of power, though. On the curveball, Mack is tagging. The catch by Carrion. And Mack will score easily. Well ahead of the relay from Barnes. Sacrifice fly for Knobloch, and it is 1-0 Minnesota.
That was not a real deep sacrifice fly. The wind's blowing in, so it knocked it down a little bit. But with the speed of Mack, it does become a routine sacrifice fly, and he scores easily on the fly ball. You see Carrion is coming in, way in fact, makes the catch. His throw is not so much offline, but it's dying. And Skeeter Barnes' relay is never going to be in time. Very tough to relay on a sacrifice fly.
20th RBI of the year for Chuck Knobloch, and here is Kirby Puckett. .327 average, 7 homers, 29 batted in. He shows butt and takes ball 1.
And he must think he's playing in the Metrodome, no sleeves on. That's how hot he is.
Now, some guys, you talk about maybe the pressure of trying to produce in your final year of the contract, free agency before you. Kirby Puckett seems to thrive in that kind of pressure. I mean, he is off to a sensational start.
I would never expect anything to do with money to have an effect on Kirby Puckett. Kirby loves to play the game, and he plays hard each and every day, and that's the way to approach it. Doesn't matter about the money.
It is a ball, 2-0 to Kirby, 1-0 the Twins ahead. You saw a moment ago the statistics there. Kirby was born to hit at the Metrodome. It's almost like it was the house that Kirby built. .433 hitting at home this year, and he shows he can get his hits on the road as well.
It's kind of interesting that he hit 3-0 there in that situation with 1 out. We're using a grading system here for the Minnesota Twins pitching. I give them a C, which means they're in the middle of the pack, kind of average. Right now they're looking for that stopper. Offense B+ because they do get a lot of base hits, put a lot of runners on. And defensively, they're one of the better teams in the American League as well. So put those 2 B+ together, B and a B+ together, and you have a contender.
Here is Chili Davis for Tom Kelly's club. Chili, a switch hitter, batting right-handed. And he takes a strike. Now, he was one of the real important players. Remember last year they won the World Series, but they came from last place the year before, and Chili was one of the reasons they were able to turn that around. And so far, they've had to kind of do a little patching to fill in for the missing power of Chili Davis. He has only 1 home run so far. Chases a bad one, 0-2 the count.
He had 29 home runs last year and drove in 93 runs to lead the Twins. So that's the whole point that you're making, is that without him so far this year, they're still doing pretty well. So when Chili gets hot, and he will, because Chili Davis is a good player. He's been a consistent performer over his career. So I think he'll put up some good numbers before the year's over.
Puckett at first, 1 out. Chili has never hit well against Tanana. That changeup going outside. He has 3 hits in 22 lifetime at-bats against Tanana.
Well, the reason is the pitch that you just saw. He would turn the ball over, a changeup, and then throw the fastball that's tailing away from Chili when Chili tries to pull the ball.
Ryan Harper on deck. 1 run is in, 1 man is on. Puckett at first, Fielder on the bag with him. And there's a base hit for Chili Davis. Kirby will go to second as Deere comes up with it on the bounce. 3 hits already for the Twins, and nobody's hit a shot. They haven't rattled any fences. This is the way the Twins get their hits.
I didn't see the other 3 hits he got, but I bet they were like this: fastball in, and he fights it off. Not a real aggressive swing. The ball is on the inside part of the plate, and he fights it off to right field. I would bet that the other 3 hits that he had were similar.
So he's 4 for 23 against Tanana now. A vast improvement.
Yeah.
Puckett at second, Davis at first, and the Tiger bullpen is starting to get busy. Ryan Harper, 3 hits yesterday. And it is a called strike. Kevin Ritz, a right-hander, has begun warming up for Detroit. And the Tigers, they have been warming up more relievers than any other team. The Tigers' starting pitching has been dismal for most of the early part of the season. Tigers pitching overall with a 4.74 earned run average, and the starters are much higher than that. 2 on, 1 out. 1 run is already in for the Twins. And the Tanana curveball, he's always had a beauty. 0-2 the count. Tanana's earned run average, 5.45. And Joe, in 36 and a third innings, not only has Tanana allowed 42 hits, he has walked 25. Now, that is unusual for Frank.
You cannot put a lot of men on base if you're Frank Tanana, because he has to stay ahead of the hitters and he has to move the ball around to be successful.
Tanana, for his part, says, hey, be patient. Any little thing goes wrong with me, and I'm going to get hit hard, but I always get it together. Always have. That curve is just outside to Harper. 1-2.
One thing about Brian Harper is that he is a lot more patient with 2 strikes than normal. He's a very good 2-strike hitter. It's a breaking ball. It's outside and just hangs out there. Out comes the pitching coach, Billy Muffitt's going to go to the mound after that pitch. Maybe didn't like it.
Billy Muffett. And he will be joined at the mound by Kruder, the catcher, and also shortstop Travis Fryman. We're anxious to see Fryman come to bat tonight because he has really been something. He's the future for the Tigers. It seems like an odd time to visit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was 1 ball, 2 strike count. He was ahead 0-2, and he wasted a pitch outside. Unless Billy Muffett thinks that maybe Kirby Puckett was giving signs from second base, or the third base coach was giving signs.
Well, don't bet against it.
Yeah, that could be one of the things that they were talking about on the mound.
So maybe and you've got the young catcher Kruder, not a lot of big league experience. There is Davis at first base, Kirby Puckett at second, 1-2 to Harper.
In fact, you see now that I would bet that's what it was, because Tanana got ready to pitch and he looked back at Kirby Puckett to see what he was doing. He wasn't checking him to throw the pitch.
2-2.
They're playing pretty much straight away, and that's the way you have to play Harper, because with 2 strikes he will hit the ball to right field, but he stays mostly left center to right center. So pretty good defensive setup.
1-0 Twins. 1 out, 2 men on. The 2-2 pitch to Harper. Another curve in the dirt. Runners will hold. Well, now, going back to talking about Kirby maybe picking up the signs and relaying them to Harper, what kind of gestures would a runner at second be liable to make to give the news to the batter?
Well, there are all different ways. You can do it like a third base coach. Wipe, pinch your pants, tap your helmet for a fastball, something that's moving, or stand perfectly still for something that's going to be an off-speed pitch. A lot of different ways. Each team has their own set of signs to do that, I guess. And see, every time he steps off, he looks at Kirby Puckett. So there's definitely psychological warfare going on here. We don't know if Kirby was given the sign. See, Kirby just reached up and grabbed his number. That could mean something, and it may not. It's kind of like a third base coach now.
The runners are going, and it is ball 4. Tom Kelly's got supreme confidence in Harper's ability to make contact. The bases are loaded with 1 out, and Pedro Munoz, a very strong, powerful, young right-handed hitter, coming up. Sparky says, here we go again. And the Tigers starting pitching. You got Bill Gullickson, who's done well. He's 5-2. But you got Eric King, a 7.51 earned run average. Scott Aldred, 6.75. Frank Tanana, 5.45. Terrell out of the rotation. His ERA was over 7 before they got him out of there. Back to the screen right beneath us. 0-1 to Pedro Munoz.
I talked to Kirby Puckett before the game, and he said Pedro Munoz is going to be a star. He said this guy is really going to be a good player.
And you saw the Renaissance Tower Downtown Detroit, out along the Detroit River. Beautiful 70-story structure surrounded by office towers. There's a hotel. Bases loaded, 1 out. 1-0 Twins. The 1-strike pitch. Oh, beauty. Strike 2. Now, Terry Crowley, the hitting instructor for the Twins, part of his philosophy is to have pitches away. Don't try to pull it. Take it to right. Don't be afraid of just getting a single or a double. Well, Munoz took that to heart, and all of his home runs have been to right and right center. He's got excellent power. Puckett at third base. Davis at second. Harper at first. Only 1 out. We've got a key moment in this game early on right here. I mean, a base hit, and it turned this into a big inning. Tanana could get a double play and get right out of the inning. In very good shape. See if anybody can get to this one. No, into the bullpen area. There's a lot of foul territory in this ballpark. Deere, Phillips, and Fielder all gave chase. 0-2. Here are the runners again. There's Puckett at third base. He hit a single. Davis at second. He singled. And Harper. Remember, Harper was down 0-2, and he got a walk.
Well, Harper, again, as I mentioned at the time, is a good 2-strike hitter, so he doesn't panic after he gets 2 strikes and chase bad pitches.
Pedro Munoz. The count. Twins with 3 men on, 2 in scoring position, of course. Tom Kelly. Terry Crowley there with a hand in his pocket on the right side of the dugout the right side of your screen there. You see 328 in the 13 games with men in scoring position, although that's hardly better than their overall batting average of 318 in that time.
It's much easier to hit with the bases loaded and 1 out than it is to hit with a runner at third and 1 out.
2-2.
Basically because the pitcher has no place to put you. So when you get to a 2-2 count, as Munoz has, you know he's going to have to give you a pitch to hit now, or a pitch in the strike zone. With a man on third and the first base, second base open, he can pitch around you or try to get you to chase pitches. He has to throw a strike now, or he's going to walk in a hitter, a runner. So he's going to be aggressive here. The pitcher is, and so it's time for the hitter to be aggressive also. 2-2, good count.
Curveball hit slowly. Fryman's only plays to first. Fielder digs out the low throw. Coming in to score is Puckett. The other runners advance, and it is 2-0 Minnesota. RBI for Munoz.
Well, the one thing that Tanana made sure of there is he was not going to 3-2. So he did not give him the big breaking curveball. He just gave him, a good curveball, the one that throws the strike curveball, the one that goes in the strike zone. The other ones were breaking down out of the strike zone.
24th RBI for Pedro Munoz this year, and also his 9th RBI in the last 10 games. Now here is Kent Hrbek. That right field area, very reachable for this big guy, and there's a called strike. 2 men in scoring position. But you've got the left-hander versus the left-hander here.
Interesting matchup, because Tanana has a lot of ways to go with Hrbek. High in the strike zone or a lot of breaking balls.
Davis at third, Harper at second, 2 runs in. Right to Fielder. He'll take it himself. And I guess if you're Tanana, the inning could have been worse. 2 runs have scored. 2-0 Twins after a half inning. After a half inning, John Miller and Joe Morgan from Tiger Stadium. Sunday Night Baseball. Now the batting order. For the Detroit Tigers, the versatile Tony Phillips at second base. Mark Carrion, the former Met, left field. Travis Fryman, outstanding at shortstop. Cecil Fielder finally hit one Friday. Mickey Tettleton, 31 homers a year ago, the DH. Rob Deere, second in the majors in home runs. He's in right. Skeeter Barnes is at third base, batting 7th. Chad Kruter is the catcher. And hitting 9th, the center fielder, the speedster, Milt Kyler. And the pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, he was a real lifesaver, particularly the first few weeks before the Twins really got it going. Bill Kruger, he's still unbeaten, although he has not actually won himself for a while.
Well, he's learned to pitch. Bill was with the Oakland A's when I played my final year. And he had great stuff. He had a lot of potential. Good fastball, big curveball. But he didn't really understand how to pitch. He didn't have as good a control as he has now. Now he's put everything together. And he's looking forward to having his best season ever. Defensively for the Twins, Munoz is in right. Kirby Puckett, Gold Glove winner, in center. Shane Mack is in left. Scott Leyes is over third. Greg Gagne is the shortstop. Chuck Knobloch, last year's Rookie of the Year, is at second. Kent Herbeck at first. Brian Harper behind the plate. And Bill Kruger on the mound.
And the Twins leading 2-0. And we've got some hardy souls here tonight, Joe.
They also have the right idea. Tiger lady.
Now, does she wear that all the time or only when it's cold like this? Her aunt knitted that for her and gave it to her for Christmas. Here's Tony Phillips. He's switch hitter batting right-handed. Phillips off to a slow start. Except that hitting at the top of the order, his #1 job is to get on base as he takes a strike. And he has walked 37 times. A .231 batting average, but a .391 on-base percentage. He's been getting on base. Last of the first from Tiger Stadium. Twins 2, Tigers nothing. Tigers coming to bat against Kruger. And it is a ball and a strike. Kruger, one-time college basketball player at the University of Portland, out of Portland, Oregon. And while at Portland, he played with a pretty good player. Went to the NBA, Darwin Cook. Had a very fine NBA career. Kruger lives in McMinnville, where he graduated from McMinnville, Oregon High School. Not many guys from McMinnville High in the big leagues. 2-1 the count to Phillips with Carrion on deck and then Fryman. Greg Gagne, the sure-handed Twin shortstop, on away.
Well, we've graded the Minnesota Twins. Let's take a look at the Detroit Tigers. Well, pitching is going to be a D, and that's mainly because of their starting pitching being so poor. Offense, they still score runs. They lead the league in runs scored, but they also strike out a lot, leave a lot of runners on base. But defensively, I think, is a surprise. They play very good defense here in Detroit.
Here is Mark Carrion, right-handed hitter. Carrion was sort of the pinch hitter deluxe of the Mets. He's getting a lot more chances to play over here. Hitting .271, 4 homers, 17 batted in, and he's had 118 at-bats. That is going to go fouled on the right field line. The wind pushing it back when nobody can catch up to it. Herbeck and the right fielder Munoz giving chase. A ball and a strike.
The jury's still out on Mark Carrion on how good a player he actually is going to be or how good a hitter he can be. He looked very good as a pinch hitter for the Mets and a part-time player. But a lot of times when you have spot duty, you can do a great job there. But when you're in there every day, it takes a different kind of mindset. And that's something that we'll have to wait and see about.
Into the upper deck foul off to the right. Carrion is now 28 years of age. And his father, Camilo Carrion, was a catcher in the big leagues from 1959 through 66 with the White Sox, Cleveland, and the Orioles. And it is 2-2.
Kruger throws a fastball, a big curveball, and a changeup. And he throws two types of fastballs. One is like a cut fastball when he comes inside on the right-handed hitters. And the other kind of tails away naturally, as most left-handers' fastballs do, to a right-handed hitter. And then he throws a straight change.
Fastball missing. 3-2 the count to Carrion. You know, it was a kind of a sad aside. The fact that his father played in the big leagues. His father never did get to say Mark playing in the big leagues. He passed away 6 days before Mark made his major league debut. Base hit. Now the power's coming up. Fryman, Fielder, Tendleton, Deer. When the power in this club comes up, it stays up for a while.
Yeah. Well, Fryman has really been the hot guy lately, and he's starting to swing the bat. And when you talk to Sparky Anderson, he says 2 or 3 years from now, this is the player that they're going to have to build their club around. Everything else is going to revolve around Travis Fryman. the new people you bring in, they have to fit in with him. That's how much Sparky thinks of this young fella, and I think he's going to be a good player, and he's been getting better each and every year.
And he's still just, in baseball terms, a baby. He's 23 years old. That is a fastball for a strike. 2-0 Twins. Last of the first. 1 out, 1 on. Fryman, Sparky says, kind of reminds him of a young Robin Yount in stature. And tall, slender. He's a natural shortstop. But he says he's got more power than Yount had. Last year, this guy, at age 22, drove in 91 runs. Out of the way. So far this year, Fryman doing pretty well. 292, 7 homers, 22 batted in.
He has a pretty compact swing. He works from a closed stance. So he's got a little bit of bat speed. You know, bat speed is what's important when you hit from a closed stance. It's important to everyone, but especially important if you're hitting from a closed stance.
And it gets right past Brian Harper, and down to second base goes Carrion.
The ball skidded underneath Harper. It looked like it was going to bounce out in front of the plate, and he tried to block it, but it just skids right underneath. See, the ball does not come up, and it hits him off his foot, but that was not so much his fault. The ball should have bounced. And he's trying to block it with his body, but the ball skids. You see, it hits home plate and just kind of skids across. Normally that pitch will bounce, and he would have been able to block it.
2-2 now to Travis Fryman. You know, Fryman last year with the 91 RBIs was the youngest Tiger to hit 20 homers and drive in 90 runs since 1955, when then 20-year-old
Al Kaline.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you a question before you said since. I was going to say Kaline never did that at a young age. Led the league and hit it.
That is just foul outside of third. 2-2 the count.
One of the great things about going to the different parks each week, and especially the older parks, is you get here and you think about some of the great feats you've seen here, some of the things that have happened here. You know, Al Kaline, of course, playing here all those years. Norm Cash hitting so many balls into those seats. And then I remember Reggie Jackson in the 1972 All-Star game hitting the light tower. 71 All-Star game, hit the light tower in right field.
2-2 the count. And it's a full count now. 3-2. Now, this is not a guy, although he's hard, you want to pitch around with a guy named Cecil Fielder coming up next.
If you're Bill Kruger, you're taking them really one at a time, and he knows that Fryman is very dangerous right now, so he's trying to pitch him the way that he is set up in the meetings. And that means he wants to throw him change-ups away and mix the fastball on the inside corner. That was a change-up that got away from him.
2-0 Twins. Runner at second, 1 out for the Tigers. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Fouled straight back over our heads into the upper deck. Still 3-2. Tigers playing here at home. They're in the middle of a long homestand. But this has not been a happy place for them. The crowds have been small, and the results have been real small. The Tigers with 8 wins, 13 losses here at home, and that's even though they have started playing well here lately.
There was an interesting column in the paper today.
Foul away again.
It said, as great as this place is, meaning Tiger Stadium with all the traditions and whatever, when you're not winning, it becomes a very boring place to be. That was kind of an interesting statement, I thought, especially from a writer and a guy who has been here all these years.
Yeah, was it
I don't want to
Tom
name his
Gage?
name.
Yeah,
I know who it
I'll
was,
name
but
it.
okay, you
Tom
do it.
Gage.
I didn't want to.
Well, it was a very good and thoughtful column.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought it was an very interesting column. That's why I mentioned it.
Food for thought in that column.
Yeah.
That is foul. 3-2 to Fryman. He's really battling it out with Kruger. This series opened Friday. The Tigers won 6-3. Rob Deere hit his 12th and 13th homers. Leiter over Henneman, or rather over Smiley. Henneman with the save. Then yesterday, Tapani over Doherty. Aguilera with the save, and Harper had the big day. The game had almost an hour and a half worth of rain delays here yesterday. 3-2 the count. So this is the rubber match of the series. This Memorial Day weekend. 3-2 to Fryman. And he is really making Kruger work. And second is Carrion. Strike 3 called to the outside corner.
It was a good job of pitching by Kruger. He mixed his pitch location up so well, Fryman didn't know where he was going. Pitch before was inside. He pulled it foul. Now he goes right back outside towards the outside corner. We'll take a look from up above, and let's see if that ball gets to plate. Very close.
Depends on who you ask.
Right. Fryman would tell you it's outside. Camera kind of agrees with him.
Here is Cecil Fielder. Staying outside, but too far outside to Cecil.
Cecil had a sore wrist, and what happens when you have something bothering you in your hands or your wrist, you develop bad habits, and that's what he says has been the problem. He's slowly getting himself back to where he wants to be. He's still swinging the bat pretty well, but not as well as he wants. He's still getting rid of the bad habits from protecting the left wrist.
Yeah, and it's a ball. He missed 7 games after sustaining the injury, and he probably admits now he probably did come back a little too early from the injury. He was just so anxious to get back in there. Nonetheless, even though the home run production is way off, only 8 home runs, he leads his club with 30 RBIs, among the league leaders in that category.
When you hit 95 home runs over the last couple of years, you really think you're Superman. And he felt that even though his wrist was bothering a little bit, he could still be productive. But what happens when your left wrist is bothering you and you're a right-handed hitter, your right hand becomes dominant, your top hand, and you roll over too many pitches.
3-0 to Fielder. Mickey Templeton is on deck. And it's a walk. Well, you go from a guy who hit 44 home runs last year. He walks, and now you got to face a guy who hit 31 home runs a year ago. Tom Kelly, nervously pacing in the dugout. His ball club in a pennant race. They've just gotten it going here lately. They're going home. You know, the Twins have played most of the season away from the Metrodome, which is really a positive because their overall record is pretty good. They're right in the thick of it. They've only played 16 home games. This is their 26th road game. And ball 1. In our travels last year when we came to Tiger Stadium, Mickey Templeton gave us one of our real memorable moments last year. 2 strikes, 2 out, 9th inning against a great reliever, Brian Harvey. And he hit a home run off the facade of the upper deck in right field to tie that game. He's got enormous power. Late of that fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Templeton has been a much better hitter left-handed, however. Hitting only 190, batting right-handed.
Templeton and Kruger were teammates in the minor leagues at Oakland and also at Oakland in 1984.
Teammates, battery man. 2-1 the count. Well, Mickey Templeton, dangerous from both sides of the plate. 9 home runs. He and Chris Hoyles, the Baltimore Orioles, are tied for the lead among American League catchers for home run hitting. Carry on at second, Fielder at first. 2-0 Minnesota. 2 down, 2 on. And it is 2-2 to Templeton. And you know, this inning is not so unusual. See the home run leaders, McGuire, then Deere, who's on deck. O'Brien of Seattle, then Hoyles, Canseco, and then Templeton. But when teams face the Tigers, pitchers work carefully. They generally throw a lot of pitches because almost anybody in that batting order can hit one out of the park against you.
And it's really kind of a trait of the American League, though, John, because most of the parks in the American League are small, and you have to be very careful.
Strike 3 called on the outside corner. Got him with a breaking ball. 2 men left. After 1, the Twins 2, the Tigers nothing. Most interesting conversation with Clyde Drexler. I think you'll enjoy it on SportsCenter right after the game.
Clyde the Glide.
Yeah, one of the greats of the NBA.
Strike 3 to Templeton, right on the outside edge. Perfect pitch from Bill Kruger.
Scott Lance, the hitter, to the Twins come to bat in the second, and he takes a strike at his own one. Scott Lance, the 8th place hitter for the Twins, but he is hitting .283. Little pop fly, left center field. Carry on in a hurry. He's got it. Beautiful. And Lance is out number 1. That wind is blowing in tonight, blowing a ball like that back toward the infield and away from Carry-On.
Well, with the wind coming in, Carry-On is hustling all the way. Look how big his glove is. That's a long glove, and he needed every inch of it to make the catch. Nice catch.
So there's one away. Now, we mentioned the 8th place hitter for the Twins, Lance, hitting .283. Now the 9th place hitter, Greg Gagne, comes up. Gagne, look at that. He's hitting .323. 2 homers, 13 batted in. He's going so good, he got accused the other night of corking his bat. That's a curve for a strike. It happened in the ball game against Toronto.
We'll never find out because the umpires wouldn't look.
They wouldn't look.
So Cito Gaston's playing the game under protest.
He played it under protest, although the umpire, Larry Young, was quoted as saying, that's a foul, 0-2 the count. He said they didn't ask him to inspect the bat till like 3 innings later.
Oh, okay.
So apparently Jack Morris, the former Twin, pointed out, said, look how after every time he hits the ball in play, he tosses the bat toward his own dugout. There's something strange there. And then he hit a home run to the opposite field at the Skydome, which he never does. At the Skydome or any other place. And they wanted to inspect his bat. And Young just said, and this is all after the fact, from the dispatches from that game, that if they'd asked him right then, he would have. Gagne, for his part, thinks it's hilarious. He says, I have more than 2 home runs if I was corking my bat, wouldn't I?
Not necessarily.
No, that's what Cito said.
I remember George Foster, teammate of mine in Cincinnati, he hit the scoreboard in right center field in Philadelphia. No right-handed hitter had ever done that before. So they asked to look at his bat. He looked at it. Nothing was wrong with his bat, of course. And George told him, he says, I have cork in my arms.
And that's legal.
Yeah.
2-2 the count to Gagne. Well, who was the fellow that ball hit off the end of his bat? And
Balls
the end of the
came
bat
rolling up.
Yeah, was it Greg Nettles? The
Greg
end of
Nettles,
the bat
that's
flew off,
exactly
and the little super balls came bouncing all around home plate.
So it's not, you know, unthinkable that some of these players would have cork in their bats.
Well, the late Norm Cash, who had some great seasons here, particularly 1961, he hit over .360 that year, and he hit 40 homers. What a year.
Well,
and he admitted later on, years later, that he, in fact, corked his bat.
You know, it's kind of interesting that baseball is the only sport where cheating is really kind of the norm. If you think about it, pitchers throwing spitters, hitters using cork bats, wetting the baselines, angling the foul lines, etc. Golf is a game of honor, you know, and all the other things. When you cheat, you're kind of admonished for it. Baseball, if you cheat, you say, hey, you know, that's part of the game. I wonder why.
And it is ball 3.
My point is, I don't think you should cheat.
Wait a minute. Now, I've been watching these NBA playoffs, Joe. You telling me the guys don't take dimes in the NBA?
Well, that's different. That's really not
over, ref.
Yeah, but that's not cheating.
What's that?
That's just taking a dive.
Oh.
That's flopping.
Down the left field line, but foul to Gagne.
In fact,
3-2.
In fact, we're in town of Bill Lambier, the flopper.
Well, hey, you can wet the infield. There's no rule against it. That's not cheating.
Well, it is the way the Giants used to do it when they played the Dodgers, and Maury Wills was a base-stealing threat. Alex Dark had them make a swamp over there.
They replaced the first base dirt with quicksand.
Yeah. But, I mean, truthfully, in baseball, you know, we talk about these things and we laugh about them as we're doing now. But, you know, in other sports, people who cheat sometimes are tossed out of the game.
See, Tanana's been a busy man already, 41 pitches. Eddie Stanky, when he managed the White Sox in the 60s, they say used to keep the baseballs in a freezer.
Right.
Strike 3. Nothing is coming easy for Tanana tonight, but he's Got the first 2 hitters out in this inning. 2 down.
Cooter is set up on the outside corner, and Tanana throws it out there, even a little off the corner. That's a great pitch with 2 strikes on the hitter, because very rarely will a hitter be able to lay off that pitch.
Now Shane Mack, the hitter. Played deep at third by Barnes. And just like that, the side is retired. Mack had doubled his first time. 3 up and 3 down for Minnesota. We'll see Rob Deere when we come back. 2-0 Twins. And now if the Rangers could just win a ball game, if the bullpen could just hold the lead for Nolan Ryan, maybe they'd really get something going. Here's Rob Deere. 13 homers for Deere. 2 here Friday night. Kruger. And that is a ball. Now, Rob Deere, 13 home runs. He's on a pace to hit 50 or 51 homers this year. And if he stays healthy and plays all the way through, he's going to hit a lot. He's not going to hit for much of an average. 208 is his average. That's a high foul. It'll go back in amongst the spectators in the upper deck as Herbeck gave chase. 1 ball and 1 strike.
A lot of people will say that, you know, it's okay to hit 208 if you hit 50 home runs or whatever. But that's not okay, simply because you do not give your teammates a chance to drive you in when you hit 208 and do not get on base. And here's his home run chart. He's hit 13 so far, and all of them have gone to left field.
1 ball, 1 strike to Deere. And it is 2-1. This is a real strong guy. I remember 2 years ago when he was still in Milwaukee. We had a Sunday night game, and Dave Parker, the Cobra, pretty strong guy.
Real strong.
And he told us that night, he says, hey, Rob Deere is the strongest guy I've ever seen.
He first came up with the Giants, and, you know, he loved Jack Clark. Jack Clark was his idol. And he used to hit like Jack Clark. He even looked like him.
There it goes. Forget about it. Against the wind. And no. Herbie Puckett's got it. I beg your pardon.
I've been working with you for 3 years now. It's the first time I've seen you do that. I wanted to grab you, but I couldn't stop you. You're already into it.
I said it, then I said
you
against
forgot about that wind. Yeah, the wind blowing in knocked that ball down. Good swing. The ball's out over the plate. He reaches for it, gets his arms extended and everything. It looks almost a perfect home run swing. The extension is there, everything. But he forgot about the wind. He should have dialed it up a couple more notches.
I knew it wouldn't go out in that part of the ballpark. So Deere is retired. Skeeter Barnes has fouled 1 back. 0-1 the count to Skeeter. And he chases a bad one from Bill Kruger. It is 0-2.
If you watch Tanana and you watch Kruger, they're very similar in their styles, trying to throw change-ups and keep the ball away. But Kruger has a lot better fastball, so he's able to keep the hitters more honest by coming inside. But Tanana has normally a little better control, so they're about evenly matched as far as ability to keep the hitter off balance from the mound.
2-2 the count to Skeeter Barnes. Chad Kreuter is on deck.
Take a look at his swing. One of the things that he does well is he keeps his head pretty straight, but he also leans his body out over the plate. That takes a little bit of his power away and makes the arc a little different. Watch. It's a beautiful swing. Head pretty much still. Right there on the ball. Pretty good swing. A little more weight on his front side than normal.
Well, hey, that's a great swing. Must have gone out.
Yeah.
Did that go out? Here is Kreuter in the right field. Shallow along the line. Base hit. Kreuter will hold at first as Knobloch hurries the ball back in to Gagne at second base. Second hit for the Tigers.
I really expect to see a few more balls hit like that because of the pattern that the pitchers are using. The hitters are sitting on the bench and they're watching Tanana and they're watching Kruger pitch the right-handers away. so quite naturally, when you walk to the plate as a hitter, you think he's going to pitch you away, and you kind of lean out over the plate a little bit. And when he comes inside like that, he's going to hit you on the fist. But if you're strong enough, you can muscle it over the infield as Cooter did.
Milt Kyler, been a very big disappointment so far this year. That's a foul ball. He's one of the few guys on this roster who can run well. He can steal bases, but he has gone backwards. That's according to Sparky. And this is a guy that looks like he could steal 50 bases, be an outstanding center fielder. In fact, he stole 41 bases last year, but right now, Joe, he refuses to take a walk. He has walked once. Yeah, with that speed, how can he only walk once?
I've said this before, and it's something I really believe in. It doesn't matter how much potential a young player has. The thing that matters is how he is trained, the teaching that he gets once he gets to the major league, and how much he learns from that teaching in the first couple of years. And that's what's important. And what you're saying is that he is not learning very much.
Broken bat, and Ashley's. Yankees got it, no play. And it's a home run.
You're going to get one out of here, huh? I hope someone hits one soon. This is what you call just not staying down on the ground ball. It's on the fist again. The ball, and being in tight like that, Leah should have been able to come up with it, but the ball was not hit that hard. And it was an error on the third baseman.
Twins have not made many of those lately. That's only their third error in the last 11 games. So here's leadoff man Tony Phillips. 2 men on, 2 men out in the second. Minnesota 2, the Tigers nothing. Foul ball.
Oh, that hurts. Oh, that hurts.
Hurts from up here.
In cold weather like this, anything on the fist or any other part of your body really hurts. And Tony's going to take a little time. Looks like a field plantier from the right side. I couldn't see where it hit him, but I know it hit him someplace on the lower part of his body.
And apparently broke his bat as well. He's gone over to get another one.
It gets him on the left foot, right on the top of the arch. Oh.
One strike to Phillips. You know, kind of reminds you a little bit, too, of his one-time teammate. I mean, they do it differently in terms of the actual stance, but he and Ricky Henderson, they get down in the deep, deep crouch.
Well, Ricky gets in a deep crouch, but Phillips is kind of sitting back. He's sitting down, like field plantier. I mean, that looks like a field plantier from the right side to me. Ricky just crouches.
Foul out of play off to the right for a count of 0-2 to Tony Phillips. He really came on last year. Became a real valuable player. Sparky base all the time.
Sparky said he was the most valuable player on their team last year.
And Sparky would say that since this guy can play any position, somebody gets hurt, Phillips can go there, and did go there.
And he also produced offensively as well.
He had 284, he had 79 walks, and he had 17 home runs. Right now, he starts the day tied for the league lead in walks with Frank Thomas of the White Sox and Ricky Henderson.
He was also a teammate with Bill Kruger, Mickey Tettleton, and myself in Oakland. I always thought he was going to be an excellent player.
In the right field, hanging up, Munoz, and it's gone. 1 hit, 1 error, 2 left, 2-0 Twins. For so many years on WJR here in Detroit, from the corner of Michigan and Trumbull, Tiger Stadium, the ESPN Sunday night telecast. This is John Miller, along with Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecaster. Hi, Joe. I'm John Miller.
How you doing, Joe?
Your Sunday night telecast partner. Here's Chuck Knobloch against Tanana Scrying. Knobloch hit a sacrifice fly in the first inning. He'll be followed by Puckett and then Davis, and Knobloch has been going nuts with the bat on this road trip.
Sophomore jinx got him, right?
Yeah. That's a little dribbler. That's foul. And Chuck Knobloch, this guy, I mean, he had the great rookie season, and his comeback this year on this trip, he's hitting .353. And even though he has gone 0 for his last 8, He's hitting 353 in the trip.
That's the old saying amongst the players. Happiness is being able to go over 8 and still be over 350. That's happiness.
It's like Wade Boggs has been supremely happy for years.
That's what Pete Rose used to say all the time. Happiness is being able to have your average up there where you can go 0 for 40 and still be hitting 300.
0-2 to Chuck Knobloch. Kirby Puckett on deck. Kirby's another one of those guys who can say that. Kirby could probably go 0 for 400 and his lifetime average would be up around 300.
We've talked about having to establish the fastball in, and that one is way in, and Tanana will continue to pitch off the plate in. You won't see him throw strikes on the inside corner. He just mixes it in off the plate.
Fouled away. Twins are hitting a lot of foul balls against Tanana. He's gotten 2 strikes on a lot of guys and has had to throw numerous pitches after that. And they just don't strike out much as a team.
Well, he's only had 1 strikeout tonight, which gives him 2,587 for his career. He is 14th all time. Guess who's in front of him? Legendary.
All 13 of them?
13. No, just the one that's in front of him.
Oh, the number 13.
Number 13.
1-2 pitch. Oh, down the right field line.
The most famous of all the old-time pitchers. They have an award named after him.
Oh, wait a minute.
I need to go any further?
Okay. Oh, Cy Young.
All right. Cy Young is the next on
I
the
would have
list.
got that. You don't have to give me that kind of a hint.
You know, that's amazing when you think about it. Cy Young, you know, the award is named after him, and Frank Tanana is going to pass him on the all-time list, probably, in the next year or so.
Strike 3 call.
Gets a little closer. He came off the plate inside and established that he would. Now he goes back away right on the outside corner, and Tim McClellan is calling that pitch right on the outside corner, and Tanana is painting it very well, just the outside edge.
Kirby Puckett, he singled his first time. Kirby's hitting 331 for the year. He's eligible to become a free agent at the end of this season. And it is a strike. Yeah, easy strikeout, Puckett. Not. Indeed. Kirby still involved in a contract negotiation with the Twins. Hasn't happened yet. That's a ball outside. Kirby loves playing for the Twins. He loves the city. Settled down there now. Mark Maskey in the Washington Post had a interesting piece this morning about the Puckett negotiation. There's a pitch back to the screen. 2-1 to Kirby. And in Mark Maskey's article today, Joe, he said that Kirby Puckett's agent, Ron Shapiro, asked for and was given a look at the Twins' books.
Well, you know what? I would say that I like that, but I'm not so sure he should be given a look at the books, but that tells me that the Twins are trying to be fair in this situation. That's what it tells me.
And I guess, you know, the point being that they're saying, hey, we're not as rich as some ball clubs. Well, prove it to us then.
Yeah. And well, and they're trying to be fair about it.
And according to Maskey today in the Washington Post, Kirby would be willing to stay in Minnesota for a little less money than he could probably get in the open market.
Again, as I said at the beginning, Kirby Puckett is not motivated by money. That's not his style.
Hey, me neither. I'm just like you on that one, Joe. You, me, and Kirby.
Hey, wait a minute. Let's not take it that far. Hey, I wasn't motivated as a player by money.
2-0 the Twins lead. We're in the 3rd inning. 1 out, nobody on. Popped up. Cecil Fielder. 2 down. Now tomorrow, Memorial Day. We'll see the Dodgers and Cardinals at 4 o'clock. Eric Davis now on the disabled list. The Wizards, the Cardinals now in first place in the National League East. That's the first game of the triple-header at 7:30. Barry Larkin and the Cincinnati Reds, and Bobby Bonilla suddenly red hot at Shea Stadium. The Mets just back from the West Coast. Then at 10:30, Barry Bonds of the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Padres, Fred McGriff And those big four at the top of the batting order, they have really been something.
What about Gary Sheffield?
Sheffield, Gwynn, and Tony Fernandez and McGriff. Each of those four hitting way over 300.
Sheffield leading the league in runs batted in and has 9 home runs. That's an amazing trade for the Padres.
It's a great triple-header tomorrow. San Diego team, let's see. Gwynn, 368. Sheffield, 342. Fernandez, 323. McGriff, 316. Then, McGriff tied for the lead in home runs with 11. Sheffield leading the league in RBIs, 36. McGriff third in the league in RBIs. And all of those guys are pretty good afield as well.
Yes. Very good team. The Padres have a very good ball club.
3-0 delivery. And Chile fouls one back. Chile singled his first time as part of that 2-run first-inning rally. We're in the 3rd inning right now. 2 down and nobody on. It is 2-0. Minnesota leading the Tigers. Ryan Harper would be next. It's just a cold, windy night here in Detroit. Strike 2. I was in Baltimore the last 2 days, Joe. The temperature at game time for night games each night was 93 degrees. And I arrived in Detroit this morning wearing my shorts and a polo shirt.
I've seen you in those shorts before, John.
Yeah. Most people thought I had long pants on since my legs were also blue. Hail the cat. There's a high drive way out there toward the 400 mark. No way it'll make it out there. And just as I predicted, caught by Kylie. Take my word for it, they won't be hitting any out, and that's part of the ballpark tonight. So the 3rd inning, the Tigers, the most prolific home run hitting team in the majors again this year, well ahead of everybody else, and they're on pace to hit 224 home runs this year. And of course, it hasn't even warmed up yet.
Look at that, 240 home runs, though. That's amazing. The 61 Yankees.
They'll have to really get hot and stay away from injuries and every other thing to threaten the 61 Yankees.
And the 63 Twins, that was before the Metrodome.
The old Metropolitan Stadium. The Twins of that era, around 63-64, with Killebrew, Allison, Jimmy Hall, Jim Lemon. I mean, they had some sluggers. Earl Batty, Ken Herbeck. And the carry-on is out #1 on the foul for the first baseman. 2-0 the score. Now, as we talk about home run hitting, remember, they're on a pace to hit 224 right now, and this guy hasn't even gotten going yet. 8 home runs for Cecil. Now, he's on a pretty good pace, 13 already for Deere. But, you know, Fielder's the kind of guy, and in one 10-day period, he might hit 8 home runs. Fielder coming out on deck as Fryman stands in. Fryman called out on strikes his first time. Kruger misses high, ball 1. 2-0. The Twins are out front, last of the 3rd. Bill Kruger, this is not an overnight sensation here. He's 34 years old. Got that fastball past Fryman.
Fryman is interesting, John, that he's able to hit home runs because he actually is a front foot hitter. He gets out on the front side, which means that he doesn't use his legs a lot to drive the ball out of the ballpark.
1-1 the count. Foul back. Bill Kruger, by the way, has a place in our Sunday Night Baseball archives because tonight we were there at the King Dome in Seattle last year, the longest game in the history of the King Dome, which the Mariners won over New York. He was the winning pitcher in extra innings as a reliever. That's a foul ball back. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
But by the time we got to the end of the game, I couldn't even remember who had started that game. Watch Fryman's front foot. He steps out there. He steps toward the pitcher, which makes him hit from a closed stance. His shoulders are already closed. There's a closed stance there. He hits against the front foot, so it never turns out.
2-2.
Most of your hitters, they rotate around on that front foot, and they end up actually on their heel a little bit. But he keeps that front foot planted and hits against a strong left side. That would be great if he was a golfer. It's a great golf swing.
2-2 the count to Fryman. Liner in the left field. Out number 2 is Shane Mack, caught it. Shane Mack, a Gold Glove quality outfielder as well. He's been something.
This is what I was talking about. When you're hitting from a closed stance, you have to use your hands a lot. And he's hit from a closed stance. He will be blocked in here, and all he can do is use his hands, and he ends up hitting a line drive this way. Now watch his hands. He hits this with nothing but hands. Watch, see how they extend out? Nothing but hands. Doesn't really use his body because he's already extended out on the front foot.
Cecil Fielder, the hitter. It's a foul, back out of play. Cecil with 51 home runs the year before last and 44 last year. He has led the league in both home runs and RBIs in each of those 2 years. Only the 3rd ever to do it in consecutive years. He is in very select company. Whoa, the earth shook as Fielder missed that one.
If you have to throw Fielder a fastball, throw it up and in preferably. And this one is up. That's where he has problems. And that's because he drops his hands a little bit, and it's tough to get him back up.
0-2 the count. He struck him out.
Good high fastball. That's the way to pitch him. But don't make a mistake.
3rd strikeout for Kruger. 2-0 Minnesota. Minnesota leading Detroit from Tiger Stadium. It'll be Brian Harper, Pedro Munoz, and Kent Herbeck coming up for the Twins.
Cecil Fielder starts with his hands up here. He drops them down as he comes in to the pitch, and he can't get them back up in time to handle the fastball that's up from Kruger. Good pitching by Kruger.
Fielder down on strikes. The first pitch is strike here to Brian Harper. He walked his first time. And it's a ball from Frank Chanana. 1 ball and 1 strike.
One other thing I want to say about Fielder is that we showed that he drops his hands, but he does not try to get them all the way back up. Eric Davis of the Reds drops his hands, but he tries to get them back up, which causes more problems. Fielder's so strong, he drops them, and where he drops them to is where he tries to hit from. So he does not have as big a hole, in my opinion, in that area as Eric Davis does.
Eric Davis now on the disabled list for the Dodgers. Both Davis and Strawberry have gone on the DL. We'll have the Dodgers for you tomorrow at St. Louis. The Cardinals playing extremely well. Dodgers and Cardinals, 4 o'clock Eastern. The first part of our triple header on Memorial Day.
The Cardinals passed the Pirates today, didn't they?
Pirates have really gone into a slump big time. 2-2 now to Harper.
There are some people who think that the Pirates and the Cardinals were really just holding first place for the Mets.
Oh, who thinks that?
I will not tell. I do believe that the Mets.
Who are you, Mike Lupica?
No, please. But no, the Mets they have such good pitching, and they have the Benils who has started. He was starting to swing the bat so well. Eddie Murray. Howard Johnson has not started to hit yet, so they've got potential there.
3-2 the count to Harper. Right up the middle, base hit. And that's typical Brian Harper. That's why he's always around 300. Before Munoz comes up, let's go to Gary Miller.
John, speaking of the Cardinals, Budweiser takes you to Busch, and Tom Pagnozzi breaks open a 3-all game in the 9th off Al Osuna. They moved the power alleys in 8 feet. Last year it would have been a flyout. This time it's his 7th career home run. They're in first place. All of his home runs have been at home. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Gary. As the Cardinals move ahead of the Pirates in the National League East, and we'll be there tomorrow at Busch Stadium, 4 o'clock.
Glad to see you were listening to us, Gary. Noticed that. He was in the first place.
We'd always heard that he didn't listen to it.
Right.
Look out, Brian. Tanana leads the league in pickoffs. He has 4 already this year.
His motion is not that deceptive, but he just catches a lot of hitters napping and runners napping at first base.
It's almost as if it's so undeceptive that it's deceptive.
He gives you a straightaway move. He kind of steps toward first base, in certain situations, he'll probably step halfway between home and first, but because he has such a high leg kick, you would think that you could get a pretty good jump right there.
Well, I thought something was happening, did the Tigers, but nothing was. 1-0 the count to Pedro Munoz. He drove home a run with a ground ball to short his first time.
I would have to question that pitch out because he made such 2 good throws to first base, kept the runner leaning back. Really no reason to pitch out.
Kirby Puckett leads the Twins with 29 runs batted in. Munoz is number 2 with 24.
Well, now it's 2-0. Now, do you pitch out a third time?
Well, you have to.
Well, if you've gone this far, what do you do? Because this is a perfect hit-and-run situation now. You have given the Twins a perfect hit-and-run situation. He wiped off, which means he's not going to pitch out.
And it's a strike, 2-1. All right, what about now? 2-1 the count.
Well, if you're alert there at first base, you could know, or if you were alert anywhere, you could tell when he wipes off, that means he's not pitching out because he's wiping for location. And tell him he's going to go inside or outside with the pitch. And you don't wipe off on a pitch out. You
Really?
Give location.
No Kyler. A lot of room to go after a fly ball out there. Harper's tagging up, and he'll easily make it into second base.
Good play by the base runner tagging up. Harper went back as soon as he saw the ball going deep. No chance for Kyler to throw him out.
1 down and a runner at second. 2-0. The Twins ahead in the 4th. And Kent Herbeck is coming up. It is 440 feet to the fence in straightaway center here at Tiger Stadium.
Which makes it about 500 feet today because of the wind. And the dead air.
I mean, even if the wind is blowing out, you have to hit it a ton to get it out in center field here. Kent Herbeck grounded out to first his first time. And it is ball 1 to Herbie. He was very big in spring training. He's lost a lot of weight since he reported to spring training, and then he hurt his shoulder down there. They feared the worst, that he might be out for a couple of months. He got back a lot sooner than that. But nonetheless, he's had to sort of undergo spring training right during the season, getting a late start. There's a base hit. Rob Deere will hold Harper at third as the throw is cut off by Cecil Fielder. So Herbeck with a base hit against a left-hander. First and third, 1 out.
Herbeck sits up with an open stance. See, it's open already. The breaking ball is on the inside part of the plate, and he lines it to right field. This is already open. Breaking ball actually middle of the plate, and he pulls a single to right field.
So Herbeck over at first base.
He and Fielder have that side of the infield tilting right now.
Yeah. Oh, and this
That's
is
two big fellas right there.
I mean, these guys are gigantic, and it's interesting, you know, because their careers, in a way, have been intertwined. The Twins almost lost Herbeck to the Tigers a couple of years back. The Tigers made him a huge free agent contract offer. Leas is the hitter. And it is ball 1. And Herbeck ended up signing back with the Twins, and the Tigers then went for Cecil Fielder back from Japan. Bullpen activity there, the two of them.
Worked out good for both teams.
This would have been a pretty good park for Herbeck, too, you suspect, with that short right field porch. There's Kevin Ritz up in the bullpen again for Detroit. He'd gotten up in the first. Banana back in trouble here. Little looper caught by Phillips. Went back behind Cecil Fielder to grab it. 2 down. So Leas is unable to get that runner home from third. Harper having to hold. Herbeck holding at first. And that will bring up Greg Gagne, the 9th place hitter, but hitting better than .320.
John, we have a moment here. When you go into different towns, you know, and you read the newspaper, a lot of times there are a lot of great things in the newspaper about former players or whatever. This one is not a former baseball player, but a basketball player. You know, the high school sports were struggling here, and Dave Bing came to the rescue. He started a fund to save the high school sports. And that's happened also in my area. Don Barksdale, former NBA player, has done the same thing in the Bay Area to help save high school sports. And I think it's very commendable, and I wanted to mention that because a lot of times the things we read about athletes, you know, are negative, and they do a lot of good in their communities. And Dave Bing, who has played here and grew up in the area, has done a lot for this area, and Don Barksdale, the same thing in the Bay Area.
Well, Eddie Murray at the
And
the Mets set up an outward bound program in the inner city in Baltimore, the first one of its kind, and he funded it, named it after his mother, Carrie Murray. Cal Ripken gets very involved, and a lot of players do.
I think we should mention those things because it's important.
2 on, 2 out, and it's a strike. The conversation with Clyde Drexler, I heard part of it earlier today. He'll be on the Sports Center after the game. He talks about that a little bit.
Right.
And he was talking about Michael Jordan. People say Michael Jordan and athletes should get a little more outspoken about wrongs in their community. And he said, hey, everybody should get involved with that stuff, not just the athletes. Don't wait for just the athletes to do it.
Correct.
Harper at third, Herbeck at first. 2 down. We're in the 4th inning. And it is 3-0 to Gagne. Now, on deck is Shane Mack, who's also hitting better than .320 with power. Sunday Night Baseball from Tigers Stadium, Detroit. John Miller and Joe Morgan with you. Minnesota with 2 first-inning runs leading the Tigers as we play the top of the 4th, 2-0. And Frank Tanana in a lot of trouble here in the 4th. Runners at first and third, 2 down. Gagne helped him out.
That slow curveball is so tantalizing, you think you can just go get it, but it just keeps diving away, and you continue to chase it. Watch this pitch as it starts way outside. He continues to chase it, and you just think you can catch up with it. That's one of the advantages that Tanana has. This ball is at least a foot outside, but you think you can hit it because it's so slow.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Gagne. Harper at third, Herbeck at first. 2-2.
There's never been a hitter that wouldn't chase one of those on occasion because they just think they can hit it. Remember the famous Ephus pitch that Ted Williams hit out of the ballpark? Couldn't have been looking for it, but it was so slow he just felt like he could hit it, and Ted could hit anything.
Rip Sewell, he hit it in the All-Star game. Sort of the death of Sewell's Ephus pitch. The only one who ever hit it out. And it's a full count. 3-2. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 down, 2 on. Shane Mack awaiting his turn on deck, hoping to bat. He's the leadoff man. There's Harper, who led off the inning with a single. He's at third. Herbeck, who singled, is at first. Fielder will now back off the bag over there at first and play behind Herbeck. The outfield is fanned out straight away for Gagne. There goes Herbeck. And that's foul. Look out, Ron Gardenhire. Third base coach of the Twins. He had to be very light of foot on that one. 3-2 the count. Next Sunday, by the way, we'll be at the Kingdome in Seattle. The Boston Red Sox and the Seattle Mariners will check up on Ken Griffey Jr. and, of course, Kevin Mitchell, who has not found life to his liking, I wouldn't think, so far in the American League. It is a ball 4, and the appeal is denied by Drew Coble, and the bases are loaded for the leadoff man, Shane Mack. And Ritz continues to heat up in the Tigers bullpen. 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Next week from the Kingdome, we'll see the Boston Red Sox. Wade Boggs and company, and the Red Sox shut out today by Ron Darling, a 2-hitter at Fenway Park for the Yaley.
Well, Wade Boggs had hit 3 home runs in 2 days there. So
he's now in the number 3 spot of the order for Butch Hobson, and responded with a couple, well, as you say, 3 home runs in 2 days. Here's Tanana at another crossroads in this game. A curveball in for a strike to Mack. He's got the bases loaded. The Twins have him on the precipice here. He's a base hit away from probably being pulled from this game.
He started the game off. The first pitch of the ball game was a curveball to Mack, and he throws it again in a clutch situation. That tells you that he wants to get him out with that pitch.
Fastball inside, 1-1 strike. Mack ended up hitting a double against him in the first to start a 2-run Minnesota rally.
If you're a right-handed hitter for the Twins, you should say to yourself, I'm not going to hit anything unless it's out over the plate. Anything inside is going to be a ball. He comes inside with the fastball. He's just moving you off the plate. Everything that he wants you to hit is going to be away.
Change up low. 2-1 the count. 3 men on, 2 men down. Harper at third base. Herbeck at second base. Gagnon runner at first. All 3 ready to go in anything here. With 2 down in the 4th inning.
There's the main spark.
Sparky Anderson. His starters have struggled worse than anybody started this year. There's a shot to left field. Way back there. It's a grand slam home run for Shane Mack. And now they have busted it open. 6-0 in the 4th inning. Shane Mack with his 6th home run of the year. RBIs 21, 22, 23, and 24.
One of the good things about Shane Mack is that he makes contact and he hits the ball hard. He was talking to me before the game, saying he wasn't supplying much power. I said, just keep hitting line drives and it'll happen. This is more of a line drive home run than your normal home run, and that's why this one went out, John. It was a low line drive. It didn't get up where the wind could knock it down. Take a look at it. It's a fastball that was supposed to be down and away, and it is down and away, and he hits a line drive to left field. This is a small ballpark, so that is just a line drive to the outfield. Barely clears the fence, but it's 4 runs for the Minnesota Twins.
Frank Tanana to the showers with that line drive grand slam, and now Kevin Ritz will pick up for Tanana here in the 4th inning. Chuck Knobloch coming up. You see Ritz's numbers for the year. Ritz at one time appeared to be the top young starting prospect out of the Tigers minor league system. And all of a sudden, as he opened the year with the Tigers in 1990, he could not get the ball over the plate. And eventually it was back to the minor leagues for him, and now he's trying to work his way back into favor out of the bullpen. A hard thrower. The batter Knobloch has hit a sacrifice fly, and he has also struck out. 6-0, the Twins ahead. And boy, Sparky, how many times has his Tigers been down by 6-7 runs early like this?
Well, the one good thing about power is that you can come back. With one swing of the bat, you can get back in the ball game.
So Ritz starts off with a 4-pitch walk to Knobloch.
We talk about hitters. They will usually stride about the same place. But what he does here, you go to the ball with the upper part of your body. And this is how he hits this ball. It's a good pitch down and away, and he goes and gets it. But watch how he gets it. Not with his feet. See, he strides the same place, but his upper part of his body is out over the plate. See where he ends up? He goes out to get it. Nice swing by Shane Mack. Result, 4 runs batted.
Here is Kirby Puckett, the 8th man to bat in this inning for the Twins. And a curveball is in there for a strike. Kirby has singled and scored a run, and he has popped out to first base. 4 runs in on the grand slam by Mack. The Tigers' favorite weapon used by the Twins here in the inning. A ball and a strike to Puckett.
It was interesting. It shows you how good a hitter and smart a hitter Puckett is. He's been facing the slow slants of Frank Tanana. So what did he do the first pitch? He just took it to get a look at Ritz's fastball and see how his delivery is going to be. Now he's ready to hit.
Little chop, it slowly, third base side. He's in there. Base hit for Kirby Puckett on the infield. He's 2 for 3 in the game. And yet another hitter will come up. The Twins have now batted around in this inning as Chili Davis, the 9th man to come to bat. He'll take his hacks against Ritz. 2 on, 2 out, 4 in. Frank Tanana knocked out of the box early tonight. He pitched a strong one his last time out, but not tonight. Sedano went 3 2/3, gave up 6 runs, 6 hits. He walked 2 and struck out 2. Threw a wild pitch. And, of course, he gave up the 1 home run. And that was the one that done him in. Chili Davis now batting left-handed. Chili has had a single, and he drove one deep to center last time. Sedano threw 90 pitches in those 3 2/3 innings. He really labored.
He's always going to throw a lot of pitches because he has to throw a pitch to set up a pitch. So he's going to throw double what another pitcher might throw in those same number of innings.
A ball and a strike to Chili Davis. Brian Harper, the man who led off this inning with a single, is on deck. Now Block at second, Puckett at first. Both better be going anything here. Minnesota dugout at the bat rack.
Is that their mascot? God of bats, huh?
I'm going to guess they put it up at the beginning of this hot streak and
worked, and they've continued to use it, huh?
Well, they're hitting .318 their last 13 games.
Look at that. The God of bats watching over the bat rack for the Twins. Who says baseball players are not superstitious? Chili Davis.
A roof shot on that one.
Yeah, but he's kind of pulling off the ball a little bit. You know, I've played with Chili and watched him hit. Watch his front side. He just opens up. See how open he is right there? Too far, open too quickly. Your front side should pull the bat through, and he opened up and tried to push it through. Slows your bat down.
Runners go, and that's a foul. What causes that?
Well, just he had a 3-1 pitch. He wanted to pull it, try to hit it into that short right field fence. So what happens is you open up, you pull your front side out, but it's just the opposite of what happens. When you open up, you think you're going to be able to pull the bat through quicker and pull the ball. But what actually happens is when you open up, your bat drags through the hitting zone. It just slows your bat down. The fastball goes right by you.
Runners go, and it's a walk. So Ritz, since coming in, has allowed 3 straight Twins to reach base, and the man who led off the inning is coming up. Don't forget now, 2 weeks of coverage of the French Open beginning tomorrow from Paris. The 1992 French Open. Monica Seles will attempt to win her 3rd consecutive title. That has not happened in, 55 years, if memory serves. Jim Courier will be looking for his 2nd Grand Slam title of the year. He won the Australian Open. And defending champions of the tournament are Monica Seles and Jim Courier. You'll see Steffi Graf, Jennifer Capriati, Pete Sampras, John McEnroe. Coming up in the French Open, it begins tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern.
Why don't we fly over and do one of those?
Hey, I've been begging them to let me do that with you.
Let's do it.
You and me. We'll do that French Open.
Yeah.
Bases loaded. And it is a called strike. 0-2 quickly to Brian Harper, who has walked and singled in this game. We're in the 4th. 4 runs in. 3 men on. 6-0 Minnesota. Harper hitting .281. And it is 1-2.
Ritz has a good fastball and a good breaking ball. But if you watch, every time the catcher sets up, he's setting up inside or outside. Set up down the middle when a guy is having trouble throwing strikes. He has a good enough fastball, he doesn't have to hit the outside corner.
Into left center field, base hit. Coming in to score is Knobloch. Here comes Puckett right behind him. Going to third is Chili Davis. And the inning goes on. 6 runs have scored for the Twins, and they lead the game 8-0. And Ritz has not been able to get anybody out. They have started another big inning just against him.
He gets behind, so he tries to throw a strike, and he doesn't really pop it. It's a hanging curveball, and it's lined in the left center field. Kyler cuts it off. He slips and falls, but it doesn't have any effect on the play because 2 runners were going to score anyway. And
now Pedro Munoz. 8-0, 2 on. It's a fastball inside. Now, it was a long time ago, but in this very same half inning, Sparky remembers, when Pedro Munoz hit a shot out into center field, it was caught back near the 400-foot side toward left center. And he is 0 for 2 with an RBI.
This is the nightmare of all baseball players, making 2 outs in 1 inning. This is a nightmare. You never want to make 2 outs in 1 inning. And he has an opportunity to do so. It doesn't happen very often.
Tigers will not shed any tears should he do so. He made the first out of the inning with that long fly ball. And it is 3-0.
And make no mistake about it, he's aware of it.
Remember John Lowenstein?
Yeah.
He claimed the all-time record. He hit a home run in Anaheim, but a paper airplane had flown between him and the pitcher as the pitch was coming in. The umpire called time, and he proceeded to hit it over the center field fence, but it didn't count. Then he got a single, and that's ball 4. Then he got a walk later in the same inning because they scored a bunch of runs. Lowenstein claims the all-time record for most singles and walks and home runs that didn't count in a single inning. Well, Munoz does not make 2 outs in the inning, at least not so far.
Not so far.
The bases are loaded again. The bullpen is getting busy again. And Billy Muffet is walking that very busy path between the dugout and the mound again. Les Lancaster warming up in the bullpen. The bases are loaded. And I tell you, you want to talk about nightmares? How about Kent Herbeck with the bases loaded at Tiger Stadium with right field beckoning? And your pitcher can't get the ball over the plate.
And even worse, your right-handed pitcher can't get it over the plate to the left-handed hitting Herbeck.
Bases loaded. Davis at third, Harper at second, Munoz at first. We're still in the 4th inning. 6 runs are in for the Twins. They lead 8-0. 0-1. A mighty cut by Herbeck. Herbeck is the 12th man to come to bat in the inning. There have been 5 hits, 6 runs, there have been 4 walks allowed. And of course, Shane Mack hit a grand slam. 0-2.
Looks like Billy Muffet told him to go right after the hitter, just turn your fastball loose, and he's thrown 2 good fastballs to Herbeck to get out in front. Sometimes if you're a little erratic, you have to just go after the hitter.
Down the left field line into the upper deck.
All 3 pitches have been fastballs, and I would definitely believe that would come from the bench. I remember when I played for Sparky Anderson, the pitcher would be out there nibbling and doing those things. We would send the pitching coach, Larry Shepard, out, and he would say, hey, go right after him. They go 3 good fastballs and get the guy out.
0-2 to Herbeck. That's a fair ball on a half swing. Fielder got it. 6 runs, 5 hits, and 3 men left. Templeton, Deere, and Barnes when we come back. 8-0 Minnesota. Pitcher, he went 31-6 that year, did McLean. And interestingly, they went to the World Series, did the Tigers, against the St. Louis Cardinals, whose Bob Gibson also made history that year with a 1.12 earned run average, although he won 22 games. But the hero of that whole series, Mickey Lolich, who won 3 times in the series, including Game 7 on short rest. Tigers came back from a 3-1 deficit and won the series. Here's Mickey Templeton to try and start the comeback for the Tigers tonight. He gets a single. The Tigers have a long way to come in this one. It is 8-0 Minnesota. Templeton with the Tigers' 3rd hit of the game, and the slugger, Rob Deere, will come up. 8-0 Minnesota in the last of the 4th. Well, Bill Kruger has been going through one no decision after another here in the month of May. He was 4-0 in April, but he's not won a game since April 27th when he beat Baltimore. He's pitched well enough to have won 3 times here in the month of May in his 4 starts, but he's had a no decision in all 4 of his previous starts this month. And that is a strike. His last start against Toronto earlier this week, He went 7 innings, gave up 2 runs to the Blue Jays, got no decision.
Well, he has a 1.98 earned run average. That's pretty good. Hasn't had too many bad starts.
Oh, it's much worse than Gibson's in 68.
That's true. That was unbelievable. 68.
That curve is low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Rob Deere with 13 home runs, and he hit one hard, but into the wind. His first time up, he's caught back near the wall. Deere is 0 for 1.
Not taking anything away from McLean's 31 victories, of course, but when you have that 1.12 earned run average, it means you cannot have one bad game in the entire year.
That curve misses 2-1. I remember a few years ago, Roger Angel, the great baseball essayist in the New Yorker, wrote a column about Bob Gibson and went back and recounted some of the things that happened in 68 in Gibson's season. And it was phenomenal. He had one 12-game stretch where he gave up something like 4 runs or something. Incredible.
That's why I say that's the most amazing feat I have ever seen, and I was part of that. I contributed a lot to that 1.12 earned run average.
But talking to Gibson about it, and he said that during that season he lost something like 4 or 5 games, 1-0.
Yeah.
He was a hard luck pitcher that year, and he won 22. 2-2 to Deere. Strike 3. Even with 2 strikes, he does not shorten up that stroke. He's always going for the big one.
None of the Tigers shorten their stroke with 2 strikes. They're swinging the bats. Again, he has the same weakness that we talked about with Cecil Fielder. Not necessarily a big weakness, but the high fastball is a tough pitch to handle from the big sluggers.
Skeeter Barnes, and it is a foul ball. William Henry Barnes III.
Skeeter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's what I thought you said.
Now, Joe, this guy has played professionally since 1978. And finally, after all of those years, last year he got to the big leagues. And maybe to stay. Center field deep. Back goes Puckett, but there's plenty of room for him to go back.
He won't stay here long going to center field in Tiger Stadium.
Skeeter Barnes.
He was with the Reds, right?
Played in Cincinnati, Montreal, Philadelphia, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, and now with Detroit. There's the press box up on the roof here at Tiger Stadium. That's the view from that right field upper deck area. Tiger Stadium opened the same day as did Fenway Park in 1912, right around the time that the Titanic sunk. April of 1912. And Chad Cooter looks at a called strike. You know, Skeeter Barnes, Joe, the kind of guy you root for. He plays a lot of positions.
Right. Yeah, good guy.
He has played everywhere. There's a guy with the Seattle Mariners is Skeeter Barnes named Rich Amaral. Played like, 8 years in the minor leagues and finally made the big leagues with Texas this year. And they asked him about which big league ballparks he'd seen before as Tendleton moves over to second base on a wild pitch. And Rich Amaral, 8 years in the minor league, said, well, I've played in every ballpark in America except in the American and National Leagues. Second wild pitch thrown by Kruger. 0-2 the count to Chad Cooter. Skeeter Barnes, Rich Amaral. These are real-life Crash Davis stories. Remember Crash Davis? Crash Davis, the hero in the Bull Durham motion picture. And there's another wild pitch. Not that it seemed to be hurting Kruger all that much. He's got an 8-run lead.
Kruger throws a fastball, and it's low. Well, it's actually a curveball. It breaks. Again, it hits the plate and kind of skids. It's right in front of the plate and skids past Harper. Harper's going to have to just drop down on all fours or something to block this, but to keep the ball from going between his legs.
Runner at third now, 2 down. Check Backswing, the breaking ball. 2-2 the count.
I used to watch Johnny Bench on plays like that. He'd drop down on one knee and then just catch it. He was so good at that. He was so good at every facet of the game, so that was just one of the things that he did well.
Quit bringing him up, would you? Bring up some other catcher.
Well, there are not many that I could bring up in the same vein as Johnny Bench.
Gagne. And Cruder and the Tigers are gone. 1 hit, 1 left. We've played 4, 8-0 Minnesota. PM Detroit. I'm John Miller along with Joe Morgan, and the world champion Minnesota Twins have been very champion-like tonight, pounding on the Tigers. Minnesota 8, the Tigers nothing. We're heading into the 5th inning now from very cool, cold, windy Tiger Stadium. Spark Anderson sent us a couple of jackets to keep us warm, and we need him. He could have sent us a couple of more, I'll tell you. Here's Scott Leyes taking a curve from Ritz for a strike. Leyes is flied out to shallow left center. Carrion made a nice catch, and he has popped out to second. He's 0 for 2. 8 runs, 8 hits for the Twins. Ritz, the second Tigers pitcher, and was greeted none too nicely by the Twins. He came out of the 4th after the grand slam by Mack, and the first 5 men he faced also reached base. 2 of them scored. Curve misses. 2 balls and a strike, the count to Scott Leyes. Leyes platooned as a rookie last year at third base with Mike Pagliarulo. Pagliarulo's been hurt most of this season. Going to get a cast off his hand tomorrow when the team gets back to Minnesota, and probably within a week he'll be able to start swinging a bat again. So Pagliarulo will be on his way back shortly, but Leyes has certainly held his own over there at third base. That's a strike, 3-2. And Leyes, one of the postseason heroes in Game 2 of the World Series in the 8th inning with the score tied, and Tom Glavine, National League Cy Young winner, he hit a home run to win that game. Bouncer to the right side, Phillips. And Leyes is out, number 1 here in the 5th.
John, one of the things I like to do is look back at some of the greatest hitters who've ever lived and compare them, maybe not compare, but show some similarities between them and some of the modern-day players. On your left, you have Ted Williams, who is probably the greatest hitter who's ever lived. And we're going to take a look at his swing. He swings a beautiful swing, and his weight ends up on his back leg. On your right, you have Kent Herbeck. His weight ends up on his back leg. Kind of similar there. I'm not comparing Kent Herbeck to Ted Williams in any way. I just like to look at the older players and just, trying to find something that reminds me, in the modern player of those older great players. And Ted Williams, to me, is the greatest hitter who's ever lived. And we just want to try to do that, a few times this year. I want to take a look at the Stan Musials of the world, the Willie Mays, and some of the greatest hitters who've ever lived. Just find something with the players of today to compare them with. But again, we're not comparing them as individuals, just in some of the traits.
Greg Gagne, the hitter. 2-2 the count as he shoots one foul into his own dugout. Gagne has struck out, and he has walked. His walk in the 4th inning came with 2 down, and it loaded the bases. And much to the chagrin of that Tigers fan.
I don't think he's unhappy.
Yeah, but she can hardly bear to watch, Joe.
Yeah.
Look at her. Can't stand to watch.
I think he's pretty comfortable there.
2-2 the count to Gagne. Foul tip held by Cruder, strike 3. 2 men down in the Minnesota 5th. We'll go to the top of the order for the man who has had a big night here, Shane Mack.
Another point I want to make, John, about Shane Mack and our discussion before the game. He just said, I'm not hitting with enough power, Joe. I said, you have 5 home runs. What do you want? Just swing the bat, keep hitting line drive.
And this is about the 1/4 mark of the season, so he's on his way to 20, 25 home runs at that pace.
One thing about a hitter, if he's hitting 320, he wants to hit 330. If he has 5 home runs, he wants to have 10.
0-2 the count. Mack hit 310 last year for the Twins. 326 the year before. And right now, he is hitting 329. And they drafted him in the Rule 5 draft off the Padres. They gave up nothing but a little cash to get him. Well, Rich makes short work of him this time. 8-0 Twins after 4.5. Tiger Stadium. Tigers have not been able to do much so far against Bill Kruger. A couple of balls that they've hit well against him were against the wind, and they have been shut down. Ball 1 to Milt Tyler, the 9th place hitter in the order. He was safe in an error by third baseman Scott Leyes back in the 2nd inning. He'll be followed by the top of the order, Tony Phillips and Mark Carrion. 8 runs, 8 hits, 1 error for the Twins. No runs, 3 hits for the Tigers. Bill Kruger. High fly ball to left. Shane Mack. And that is the first out. Memorial Day weekend. We'll have a triple header tomorrow. Starting at 4 o'clock Eastern. The Dodgers at the Cardinals. Eric Davis on the disabled list. We won't see him. Ozzie Smith will be there, though, for the first place Cardinals leading the National League East. And it's 7:30. It'll be Barry Larkin and the Cincinnati Reds at Shea Stadium. Interesting matchup. Bobby Bonilla hitting .550 this week. Then 10:30, Barry Bonds and the Pirates against the slugging Padres. Mack back. That's out number 2. Phillips ripped that one to deep left field. Even he's a home run threat nowadays. 17 homers last year.
Well, he's been swinging the bat very well from the right side. Mack starts in. This ball kind of cuts through the wind, so he has to back up. He was playing the wind because it's been knocking the ball down. But Tony Phillips hit it hard enough, kind of cut through it a little bit.
Here's Mark Carrion. Has singled and found the first. 2 down, nobody out in the 5th inning. 8-0. The Twins are leading. Strike 1. Next Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. We'll be at the Kingdome in Seattle. The Red Sox with Boggs, Jack Clark Company, Ellis Burks. The Red Sox will be hosting, or will be being hosted by the Mariners next Sunday night.
And we will be hosted by the Mariners. They're always very good hosts there in Seattle. Looking forward to going to the Kingdome.
And I wonder if it'll be our last time.
Good point. Hope not.
Franchise in limbo right now. Seattle Mariners. Great city. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Carrion. 8-0 Minnesota, last of the 5th. Travis Fryman would be next. Monday, I'm doing a game. 4 o'clock game tomorrow. Busch Stadium.
I'll be on the West Coast. I don't know if I'll get yours. It's an alternate game, you said.
That's why I'm kind of depressed. Now, that was a swinging strike 3, and Harper has thrown him out.
Well, Carrion made it a strike 3 because he ran right away.
He didn't wait to find out what they were calling it. Made it an easy call. Miller and Joe Morgan. Sunday night baseball from Detroit, 8-0. The world champion Twins. Scott Livingstone has come on to play third base now for the Tigers. The young left-handed hitter, and Skeeter Barnes has moved from third over to second. Livingstone will hit in Tony Phillips' number 1 spot in the batting order. Phillips getting the rest of the night off here. We go to the 6th inning. Chuck Knobloch leads it off. He's 0 for 1 with a sacrifice fly, a walk, a run scored. Chuck Knobloch. Knobloch has been held hitless in this series. Fryman from deep short. Ball throw and safe at first base is Chuck Knobloch. The one hopper fielded by Cecil over there.
Knobloch gets out of the box very well, and he's hustling down the line. Fryman waits on the ball, then has to take an extra step, throws it low. And you can see there, very close play at first base.
Very outplay at first base.
Okay. All right.
Knobloch with his first hit of the series, and he breaks an 0 for 9 stretch. Kirby Puckett, the hitter.
He was hustling, so he got a reward for it.
Now, what page of the rule book is that?
Where you get a reward for hustling?
Kirby Puckett has singled and scored, popped out, and had an infield single and scored. Curveball in the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike to Kirby. Kirby has lifted his batting average now to .333. At the start of the day, Roberto Alomar, Toronto, led the league in hitting. 353. Kirby was 4th best in the league at the start of the day. Right through the middle and into center field. Heading for third is Knobloch. He'll make it easily. Tyler throws to second. Kirby has 3 hits. He's had a little dribbler on the infield, now a roller right through the pitcher. He's finding those holes, and now he will find a heater in the clubhouse.
It's a breaking ball in the middle of the plate, and Puckett hits it into the middle of the diamond, right back through the box. Cruder is set up outside, but it's a curveball that goes right back up the middle. Nice try by Fryman, but the ball just skids on through into center field. Good hustle by Knobloch. He goes all the way around to third.
And here is Chili Davis. Runners at first and third, nobody out. 0-1. Jarvis Brown, the pinch runner at first base, replacing Kirby Puckett. Chili Davis tonight is single, fly deep to center, and he is walked. Les Lancaster is up again in the Tiger bullpen. 8-0 Minnesota. 10 hits for the Twins. Twins have been something else this year when they've gotten as many as 10 hits in a game. What are they, like something like 21-5 or something? And I guess the case in point is not so much that they win when they get that many hits, it's that they get that many so often. They've played 41 games. They've had 10 or more hits now. This would be, what, the 27th time in this, their 42nd game. 1-2 to count. Yeah, there we go. 21-5. And I think the 1-14 tells you a little bit something, Joe, about the fact, as you pointed out tonight, their pitching has not been real strong yet.
Not as good as they expect.
Dropped Scott Erickson to the bullpen for the time being. With some off days coming up. Well, that one hit Chili Davis. So Knobloch will have to go back to third. Chili Davis hit by the pitch, and the bases are loaded again. Seems like every other inning the Twins had the bases loaded tonight.
And they've been cashing in. They try to come inside on Chili Davis. You see the setup inside by Cruder, and that's a slider that just gets away, and it gets him on the back leg, on his left leg.
Now here is Brian Harper. He's walked and twice his single. His last one brought in 2 runs against Ritz in the 4th inning, and Harper has lifted his average to 287 tonight. Bases loaded, nobody out in the 6th inning. That's foul off the right field line. And it is 0-1. This is the 4th time that a Minnesota Twin player has come to bat with the bases loaded tonight. Hey, so you can go days sometimes without getting the bases loaded. 0-1 to Harper. Munoz on deck. Down the right field line, foul. It is 0-2. Bases loaded with Knobloch, who singled at third base. Jarvis Brown, the pinch runner for Puckett, who singled at second base. And Chili Davis hit by the pitch, HBP, at first base. Sparky Anderson saying, you know, 1970, I remember when we used to do this to teams. 75, we did it a lot with the Reds. Shallow left field, that's going to be another base hit. 1 run is scored. Here comes Jarvis Brown speeding around third. He scores as the throw is cut off by Livingstone. It is 10-0 Twins, and Brian Harper, who had 3 hits here yesterday, has 3 more tonight and 4 RBIs tonight.
We talked about Harper being a good hitter and putting the ball in play. He's your typical right-handed hitter, a good high fastball hitter. Doesn't get all of this one, gets it on the fist a little bit. Way on the fist, but he gets it good enough to get it over the infield. And gets 2 more runs batting in.
And another pitcher has bit the dust. Lancaster coming in. We'll be back.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Anheuser-Busch, who proudly brings you Family Talk. Let's stop underage drinking before it starts. By Subway, sandwiches and salads for today's healthy lifestyles. And by ESPN Home Video, producers and distributors of slow-pitch softball. Available at video and retail stores nationwide.
Here's Les Lancaster with a strike swinging. And his first pitch to Pedro Munoz. Munoz batting with 2 men on, nobody out. In the 6th inning, 2 more runs are in for the Twins. And the Twins are leading the Tigers 10-0 here. Les Lancaster, former Chicago Cub. He's got Davis at second, Harper at first. Munoz 0 for 2 with a walk. Into the hole and through the hole. Base hit. Stopping at third is Chili Davis. Well, can these guys find the holes or what? I mean, they're hitting little rollers and bouncers and bloops. And what do they think they are, the Metrodome? And that'll bring up Herbeck. Well, that's the thing about the Twins. They hit the ball somewhere.
They're definitely finding holes. No doubt about that.
Here's Herbeck with the bases loaded. Nobody out. Herbeck is grounded out. Singled and scored and grounded out again. 1 for 3. The outfield bunches up towards center against him. With Lancaster in the mound. Popped him up. Infield fly rule in effect.
Shattered the bat and then broke it again as he dropped it out to first base. Good pitch by Lancaster on the hands, but his fans are getting on Herbeck because they say it's 10-0. What are you trying to do? Kill us? But anyway, he broke the bat with the swing and then re-broke it as he was trotting to first. There's the groundskeeper getting the handle. It's a good pitch on the inside corner. Good fastball. And he breaks the bat on it. Now watch him. He breaks it again. Very upset with himself for popping up that pitch.
It could cost him this game, Joe. The Twins just can't get a clutch hit tonight. Here's Scott Leyes. Not since Lancaster came in anyway. This is the 5th time, by the way, that the Twins have had the bases loaded. And another base hit. Leyes with his first. Davis comes in to score. Harper will stop at third. And it is 11-0 Minnesota. Harper to third, Munoz to second, and Leyes with his first hit of the game and an RBI. His 13th RBI. Now, we're going to get a pinch hitter for the Twins. Rebele, a fellow we have never seen before. They came up for a while when Leyes, who'd been the regular third baseman with the injury to Pagliarulo, Leyes got a muscle strain, had to miss a few days, and so they brought up this fellow, Jeff Rebele, out of Dayton, Ohio. He's been a well-traveled minor leaguer since 1986. Been in the Twins organization. And now, at age 28, he finally gets his first major league look. Bases loaded. 1 out. How many runs in? 3 runs in. 11-0. The Twins ahead. And Rebele takes a ball. Lancaster has not done well, to say the least, with the Tigers. He has been getting knocked around a lot. Look at it.
And it's amazing because Lancaster has been a very good pitcher over the last few years with the Cubs. And the good thing about him, a lot of teams were really after him when the Cubs released him because he can pitch every day. He can pitch in relief. He can also be a starter for you.
So far, he's pitched a lot, but not effectively a lot. 6.75 earned run average for the Tigers. And it is 2-1 to Rebele. Now, coming into this game, Lancaster in 26 2/3 innings gave up 31 hits, 17 walks, and 4 home runs. So look at that. Look at that. That's unbelievable. He's allowed almost every runner he's inherited to score. That is one of the worst figures like that I have ever seen. I'm going to ask for a Senate investigation on that one. That figure doesn't even seem possible.
And it's even more amazing because, you know, he's pitching in the American League. A lot of people haven't seen him before.
Well, and he's allowed one of the inherited runners tonight to score already.
Well, that's a tough stat because there was a runner at third when he got here.
Well, and there were 2 men on when he came in. Well, actually, there were runners at first and second when he came on. Yeah. Right. He's allowed both of them to score. Sparky, is that a commentary on what he thinks of this game?
I will not comment.
And now it is 12-0 Minnesota. The bases are still loaded. Shane Mack, who already has a grand slam tonight. Somebody get us the record book quick. Frank Robinson once hit 2 grand slams in a game.
I think Tony Cloninger did, a pitcher.
I remember that game in San Francisco. He hit it.
Yeah.
And Jim Gentile did it for the Orioles. And that is a ball. 2-0. Mack has doubled, starting a 2-run first-inning rally. Grounded out. He's hit a grand slam in the 4th, sending Tanana to the showers, and he has struck out. 2 for 4. 4 batted in. Bases loaded. 4 runs in. Munoz at 3rd. Leas at 2nd. Rebele at 1st. Foul. Now, Shane Mack with 1 grand slam already came back in the 4th inning. The score was only 2-0 with 2 down, and Tanana on the mound. Out of here. And that the game has been going downhill ever since. Although the Twins are having a great time. 12-0 Minnesota leading the Tigers. No end in sight either. Bases loaded, only 1 out in the 6th inning. Strike 2, 2-2 the count. Tiger bullpen is getting busy again. There's Terry Crowley, the hitting instructor for the Twins. He's done a spectacular job tonight. The Crow, the king of swing. Used to be an outstanding role player, pinch hitter, deluxe for the Baltimore Orioles and a couple of other ball clubs. And it's a full count. 3-2 to Mack. Mike Munoz, the only left-hander in Sparky Anderson's bullpen, is warming up. 4 runs in. The Twins have not hit anything more than a single in this inning. It's just that they've hit 5 of those in this inning. 5 singles. Swing and a miss. He struck it out. Two down. And Knobloch will come up.
Most effective pitch for the Tigers tonight has been the high fastball. And we see it again right there as Shane Mack swings through it. It's the high fastball.
Now Knobloch the hitter. Bases loaded, 2 down. Knobloch is 1 for 2 with a walk and a sacrifice fly. Ball 1.
And he started this off by beating out the infield hit to shortstop. So this is his second at bat this inning.
12-0. The Twins ahead. They got 2 in the 1st, 6 in the 4th, and 4 here in the 6th so far. All 3 runners ready to go with 2 down. That's a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike to Knobloch. He is hitting .323 right at the moment. Twins, this ball club is on its way home on a hot streak, even though they've hardly even played at home this year.
Well,
This could get serious.
They've been on their way home 12 times tonight.
They certainly know the way.
Yeah.
3 men out here. Pedro Munoz at 3rd base. Scott Leas at 2nd. And Jeff Rebele at 1st. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Chuck Knobloch. 6th inning, 12-0. Twins lead the Tigers. And here comes run number 13, rounding the stretch. 13-0 Twins. Starting to look like the Derby now, isn't it? Over to 3rd base, Leas. Over to 2nd base, Gagne. Munoz scoring on the wild pitch.
a breaking ball in the dirt. Kruger tries to backhand it, gets away from him. And in comes the 13th run for the Twins.
Push this one foul. Runners will have to go back. 2-2 the count to Knobloch. Sunday Night Baseball from Tiger Stadium, Detroit. It is the top of the 6th inning. This is John Miller along with Joe Morgan and the Minnesota Twins, the world champions of baseball, leading the Detroit Tigers 13-0 in the top of the 6th inning. -0.
It's a lot of runs, especially in weather like this. You don't figure that to happen except in a nice, warm afternoon or something at Tiger Stadium.
As a drive deep into left field, but Carrion is standing and waiting. He hardly had to move on that one. 5 more runs, 13-0 Minnesota.
A rarity. There is another Sunday night game. It's in the Kingdome where Cleveland had a 4-1 lead in an Albert Bell home run, and then Ken Griffey Jr. hits the long fly ball off of Kenny Lofton's glove. Might have missed it in the lettering there. That gets home Harold Reynolds, and now they have loaded the bases, and they've cut it to a 4-2 game in the 7th. Back to Tiger Stadium with John and Jim.
All right, Gary, thank you. And we'll be at the Kingdome next week. Here's Travis Fryman down the left field line. That's in there for a base hit in front of Shane Mack. Fryman with his first hit of the game, and now the big man, Cecil Fielder, is coming up. 13-0 the score here. And Bill Kruger pitching a beauty against the Tigers. But you wonder, Joe, a guy like Kruger has got to be so fine. It's cold. It's miserable. He's got a huge lead. Just how sharp he's going to be as we go through here. Chris Berman will be there tomorrow night at 7:30, right? The primetime game tomorrow night, Monday Night Baseball. One strike to Fielder. He has walked and struck out in the game. And it's a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. By the way, the Twins with 13 runs in this game. The all-time Twins record for runs in a game is 20. Twins got 20 against Oakland in 1980. 1-2 to Fielder. Changes for the Twins. Randy Bush now at first base, replacing Kent Herbeck. Jeff Reboulet stays in play shortstop. He pinch hit for Gagne. And Jarvis Brown stays in to play center field after pinch running for Kirby Puckett. Hot fly, right side, Chuck Knobloch. And the fielder is down. Out number 1. Fryman holding it first, and now Templeton comes up.
He actually handled Fielder well after the first at bat when he walked him. The high fastball in has tied Fielder up, and he struck him out with it once.
Gentleman, and he takes a called strike. Gentleman earlier this week against Milwaukee, the Tigers were trailing 3-1. Bottom of the 9th, had a 3-run homer to win it. Mickey Templeton. There's a high drive to left field. Mack is all the way back. Now comes in a little bit. The wind holding it up. Out number 2.
If the ball gets up high, the wind has a big effect on it. The low line drives is not affecting very much at all, but once it gets above the stadium or gets up real high, you're going to get some.
It is an ill wind blowing no good for the Tigers tonight in their own ballpark.
Here's Templeton. Good extension. I mean, it's a nice swing. He hits the ball well, but just gets it too high. Another afternoon or another day, the ball would probably go out of here.
Rob Deere, who hit one that might have gotten out of here in another day.
Well, you gave it to him, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gave it to him.
He got out of here today, according to according to me.
But the wind took it back.
Rob Deere. You keep reminding me of that. I have this cross to bear with you now. Look out. Ball right back near us. 1 ball, 1 strike to Rob Deere. Bill Kruger looking for his 5th win without a defeat. He's now thrown 101 pitches in the game. He's thrown a lot of pitches. But no matter how deep he goes in the count, he always seems to get his man. He's only allowed 4 hits.
Have to remember one thing. It's uncomfortable for the pitcher out there as well as it is for the hitters in this type of weather.
2-1.
Still seems to be throwing well, though. He still has the good fastball.
And we can tell that because we are right in the backstop broadcast location here at Tiger Stadium. Right on top of the action here. There's a high pop fly into left center field. Come on, Shank. Keep coming. He's got it. 1 hit, 1 left. 13-0 Minnesota after 6. And that, of course, is the brainchild of Larry McPhail. Then the general manager of the Reds. He then went over to Brooklyn, brought in Red Barber to broadcast. And one of his innovations with Brooklyn was to become the first team to broadcast all their games, home and away, to send the broadcaster on the road. And Larry McPhail, part of the McPhail baseball dynasty. And the latest McPhail progeny, holding up the family name awfully well, thank you. Andy McPhail is here tonight, the general manager of the Minnesota Twins. Here is Jarvis Brown against the new Tiger pitcher, Mike Munoz. And the carry-on in shallow left takes it. And there is 1 away in the 7th inning. 13-0 the score. Chili Davis coming up, Joe.
Well, Chili's a switch hitter, John, and we've got him from both sides in this ball game. We're going to take a look here. From the right side, he stands more straight up. From the left side, he's in a bigger crouch, and he also drops his back shoulder a little bit more. He's always had this problem. I remember when he first came up, he was a teammate of mine in San Francisco, and he's always dropped that back shoulder a little more than you would like.
I love it when you do that. Chili fouls one off to the right. I've been looking, Joe, at electronic stores all over the country for a machine that does that. Put the guy in the same shot from both sides of the plate.
I wish I could have done that. I'd have turned around and switch hit if I could have. Just learned a little bit more.
Chili Davis, 1 for 2 tonight. A single, fly deep to center, walk, and been hit by a pitch. One ball, 1 strike to Chili.
Frank Robinson was the manager of the San Francisco Giants in 1981, and he brought Chili to the major leagues at a young age.
Base hit in the right center for Chili, his 2nd hit of the game. Hit number 14 for the Twins. And now Brian Harper due up, but they're going to do something else here.
Both of Chili's hits have come on pitches on the inside corner. He gets jammed and flares them to right field. They've been pitching him inside. This one actually is down and away. There's a good pitch on the outside part of the plate, and he just goes the other way with it.
We're going to get a pinch hitter as Chili Davis stands at first base. He's been on base 4 times tonight. And Lenny Webster will come up and bat for Brian Harper. Harper tonight went 3 for 3 with 4 RBIs and a walk while he was in there. Now Webster will bat. We're in the top of the 7th inning. John Miller and Joe Morgan from Tiger Stadium. Cold night. What happened to the start of summer here, Memorial Day weekend?
As cold as it is for us up here, John, it's twice as cold for the Detroit Tigers. Sitting around watching this and chasing these balls the Twins are hitting.
Chasing them indeed. It's interesting. With all of those runs on the board, 13 runs and 14 hits for the Twins. They've had only 2 extra base hits. That's a strike to Lenny Webster. The Twins have had 12 singles tonight. They've received 5 walks, a hit batsman, a wild pitch. The 1 strike delivery from Munoz. Curve is low and in. 1 ball and 1 strike to Lenny Webster. Munoz is on deck. We are a great broadcast location here at Tiger Stadium. The best in Major League Baseball. We are in the backstop here. You can hear things going on down in the field. Base hit. You hear conversations. Davis to second, and Webster with a pinch hit single. That's the 15th hit for the Twins. Everybody's doing it. And that'll bring up Pedro Munoz. Now, you see, hanging down from the second deck, right up in the backstop, that is where our broadcast booth is located here.
Is that what that ESPN means there?
Yeah, there we are. And see, that's Joe standing right there in his Tiger jacket. I got my Tiger jacket.
That doesn't mean we're partial.
Hey, they'll never give us a jacket again. Sparky gives us a couple of jackets to keep us warm. And they are getting hammered 13-0. Munoz the hitter. But, you know, you can hear conversations. You can hear things going on in the field. You hear arguments. And, of course, you see the pitches so beautifully. You really get a feel for how hard these guys throw in the big leagues. But I remember one time, 1974, broadcasting Oakland A's baseball in this park. First game of a twilight doubleheader on a Tuesday night, maybe 400 people in the park. Gene Tennis, for about the 5th time in a week, hit a foul ball off his left foot. I mean, his left foot looked like he had gangrene already. He's in the dirt in pain. Munoz takes a ball. And the trainer comes out, Joe Romo, to look at him, and Gino's just hollering and hurting. And I said something brilliant in the radio broadcast back to Oakland. It's something like, well, it's obvious that Gino is in a great deal of pain. Turns around, looks out to the booth, and says, oh, very observant. Can't hide anything from you, can I? So it can go both ways in this part, Joe. They could sometimes hear you. 2-2 the count to Munoz. There is Tom Eatons in the Minnesota bullpen. Munoz takes strike 3 call. Out number 2 as Munoz gets a strikeout. And now, here's Gary Miller.
John, 15 is the operative word. 15 hits in your game. 15 strikeouts for John Smoltz at Olympic Stadium this afternoon. Larry Walker, one of the victims. Tim Wallach. Gary Carter struck out 3 times, including the last out. 15 strikeouts, breaks Denny LeMaster's Atlanta record and ties Warren Spahn's franchise record set in 1960. Back to you.
Thanks, Gary. And it's very ironic that he should bring up, while we're here in Detroit with all these Tiger fans and the latest in Tiger Stadium fashion, that they should show John Smoltz there, because 1987, the Tigers in a great pennant race against Toronto, and they made a big trade. This often happens in baseball. For the stretch run, they traded a rookie prospect to get Doyle Alexander. The batter here is Randy Bush, 1-1 the count. And Doyle proceeded to go 11-0, or whatever it was, 9-0. Key to winning the title for the Tigers. The prospect they gave up was John Smoltz. And you think Sparky would like to have him now?
Yeah, but he also enjoyed having Doyle Alexander, because they also helped him win a pennant. So,
and that's how it's done.
Right, exactly. You have to give up something to get something, and that was a trade that has worked out for both. The Tigers had immediate results, and the Braves are getting their results from John Smoltz now.
Same thing with Oakland. They got Willie McGee for the stretch run and gave up Felix Jose.
Right.
I think they'd like to have Jose back now. 1-2 the count. Don't forget, right after the ball game, Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann will give you the day in sports. The photo finish at Indy, the NBA playoffs, and the Yankees with some extra inning blues. Although they won today. Came from behind to beat Milwaukee. That's a foul off to the left. Don Mattingly had 3 doubles today. He had a game-tying homer yesterday. 3 doubles today for the Yanks. I can't help but pull for Mattingly. Looked like he was on his way to one of the great careers in the tradition of some great Yankee careers over the years. 1-2 the count to Bush. 2 on, 2 out. 2-2.
It was interesting you were showing John Smoltz beating the Expos, and Felipe Alou is now the manager of the Montreal Expos. The only baseball card I ever had was Felipe Alou's, and he signed it for me when I was a kid, and he was playing for the Giants.
Strike 3. Munoz strikes out Bush. The Twins don't score. Alert the media. 13-0 Minnesota. The Twins lead the Tigers. It's 7th inning stretch time here in Detroit.
There's a picture of Sparky Anderson. We were talking before the game. He said he sent Felipe Alou, the new manager at Expos, a telegram. And he said, Felipe, I remember when we played together when you were a young kid. He said, after you manage a few more years, you'll look just like me. White hair and all.
Now, Sparky looks a little dazed there right now. Here's Lenny Webster on to catch now for the Twins, last of the 7th inning. And Bill Kruger with a shutout going as he faces Barnes, Kruger, and Kyler. Skeeter has grounded to third and fly deep to center. Last of the 7th, 13-0. There's a high foul out of play off to the right. Into the upper deck. 0-1 the count.
John, I also want to take a moment here to say I have a very close friend of mine in Cincinnati, and he's ill now, Bob Conley, and I just want to wish him well, and I'll tell him I hope he gets well soon, and I'm thinking about him.
Well, I hope he's not a Tiger fan.
No, he's a Cincinnati Reds fan all the way.
All right, well, they won today, so he'll be all right. 0-2 the count to Skeeter Barnes. The Minnesota bullpen is busy. 0-2 the count. And that is high and away.
Yeah, I got traded to Cincinnati in 1972, and I got traded for a couple of favorite people there, Lee May and Tommy Helms. Very few people were welcoming me there. He came out and picked me up at the airport, and we were friends ever since. So I want him to hope he gets well soon.
Get well, Bob. 1-2 pitch. Strike 3 called to Barnes. And, hey, nothing seems to rattle Bill Kruger tonight. This guy, I guess, he's been through too much over the years, Joe, to let anything rattle him by now.
Well, he's throwing very well, and we talked at the beginning that he had to have control of his breaking ball, and he would throw it away from the right-handed hitters. Here's another example of it. Catches the outside corner. Beautiful pitch.
Now Chad Kruger, the hitter. Kruger has singled and grounded to short. The Minnesota Twins. They lost Jack Morris. A few other people they didn't attempt to re-sign, like Dan Gladden, their leadoff man. Strike 1 to Kruger. And yet they go out, they make the trade for Smiley. There were 4 20-game winners in the majors last year. 2 of them are on the Twins roster right now. That's Reboulet from shortstop. And Kruger is out number 2. Well, neither one of those fellows, Erickson, a 20-game winner for the Twins, or Smiley, a 20-game winner for the Tigers, neither one is pitching well for Tom Kelly right now. Kevin Tapani, who was one of the best pitchers in the league the last 6 or 8 weeks last year, he hasn't pitched all that well as yet. And Rick Aguilera has blown some saves big time this year. And yet here are the Twins, after probably going through one of the roughest parts of their schedule this year, playing most of their games early this year on the road, and they are looking very strong. Heading home, only 2.5 out.
One thing that happens, John, when you're trying to repeat as world champions, I've been through this myself, is that you expect everything to just fall in place the next year and you pick up where you left off. And so it usually takes you a little while before you adjust and say, really put your nose to the grindstone and get back to where you were the year before. And Minnesota has done a great job of, keeping everyone in sight, so to speak. And now they're going to spend a lot of time at home, and that's where they expect to make up the ground. Although I must admit, from a personal standpoint, when the Oakland A's are operating on all cylinders, the Ricky Hendersons, the Cansecos, the McGuires, and all the players are playing up to their potential, I think they're 6 to 8 games better than anyone in their division. When they're playing just average, I think they're still 3 or 4 games better than the other teams. So the other teams have to play exceptionally well and play, really up to their full potential, or else the Oakland A's are going to be in charge of the West again.
Could be a great run because there are some teams with a lot of talent to try and challenge the A's, and we say that, although the Twins are the world champions.
Right, but the A's are a team that they can beat you in so many ways, and again, some of their big stars have struggled, and they're still doing well. Ricky Henderson hasn't gotten untracked yet. The Dave Stewart's,
Canseco
and Bob Welch's.
Canseco went through the longest homerless stretch of his career recently.
But you know he's going to put up his 30 and 100 before it's over.
3-2 the count. And if that's all he puts up, everybody will complain about it.
Right, but he does it. I mean, last year everyone forgot how good a season he actually had, and that was coming back from the year before, a lot of back problems. So the Oakland A's are a very fine ball club, and you're still going to have to beat them.
3-2 the count to Kyler, 2 down. That's a foul back out of play. American League West. I mean, Oakland at the top. Oakland's been just like Minnesota, by the way. Most of their schedule has been on the road. Now they're going home too. Then the White Sox just a game and a half back. That White Sox lineup is loaded. Then the Twins, the world champions. And look at Texas hanging in there.
Yeah, Texas has a lot of potential. As we've talked, we've had them on twice so far. They've got a lot of potential, but you know, potential doesn't win you pennants.
And ball 4 to Kyler. And I guess the bottom line is that the American League West is loaded with talent, and you can have a strong ball club and have a lot of positive points and not even be considered a contender.
Yeah, and which is what the other teams below the A's and the Minnesota Twins are.
Now here is Scott Livingstone. Livingstone up for the first time. Another future Tiger. Came up late last year, hit real well at third base, and with Trammell injured, you get kind of a look at the future with the Tigers, with Livingstone at third and Fryman over at shortstop. Could be the left side of the infield here for a while. Tigers starting to look toward the future. They've got both Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker could be free agents at the end of this year. There's a lot of talk around town that as the Tigers look to the future, Lou Whitaker, still a very fine second baseman, hits with power, still plays real well. They might have to think about trading him to get some prospects.
That's an interesting point, because I thought another writer made a good point about that today. True, you know, it may be practical to trade Lou Whitaker, but he hopes they do not, simply because, you know, there is still some sentiment and loyalty in the world, and Lou Whitaker has been loyal to this franchise and been here. The same with Alan Trammell. But what do you do? And when you look at it from a Tiger point of view, meaning management, how long do you keep both Trammell and Whitaker here together? I mean, you have to look to the future, as you're saying, and I think the Tigers have to do that right away. One of their problems, I think, on their pitching staff, they have some guys that are too old and some players that are too young. You know, they don't have the right mixture there.
Strike 3 called to Livingstone, and he has a hard time believing it. Sports Center comes up right after the ball game. If you just tuned in, stay tuned. Right now, we've played 7 innings of Sunday night baseball. The Twins way out in front.
Being a fan is tough when your team isn't the home team, especially when I try to find coverage of my favorite team in the local paper. I'm lucky there's even a box score. Well, if you're like me, you'll be happy to know there's one publication that'll make you feel right at home. The Sporting News. You'll love the Sporting News no matter what team you love, even if it is the home team. And now you can get the Sporting News delivered at a special TV price. Just call this number now. You'll get opinions and analysis, strategies, transactions, trade rumors, and the lowdown on the minors, plus football, basketball, and hockey all year long. Call now to take advantage of this special TV offer on the Sporting News. You'll not only get a terrific price, you'll also get the durable Sporting News sports bag. So call now for the Sporting News, the publication that treats every team like the home team. Call now for the Sporting News and get the sports bag free.
That's 1-800-426-8500. Call now.
Excuse me, do you know what stock options are?
I wish I did.
The information you know you should know is in the Wall Street Journal's video guide to money and markets. This exclusive 30-minute video is free. When you call for 13 weeks of the journal for just $37, that's over 20% off the newsstand price.
Call toll-free 800-832-8700 for 13 weeks of the Wall Street Journal and your free video on money and markets. That's 800-832-8700.
Major League Baseball is in your face on ESPN with America's Game of the Week, Sunday Night Baseball, plus single games on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights, and a Friday night doubleheader. A Major League Memorial Day triple-header. The Dodgers take on the Cardinals. The Reds meet the Mets. And the Pirates face the Padres. A Memorial Day triple-header. Live on ESPN.
Celebrate the holiday with a baseball triple-header on ESPN tomorrow, 4 o'clock. I'll be there with Buck Martinez at 4 Eastern at Busch Stadium, St. Louis to get it started. The Dodgers and the Cardinals. Here is Scott Leyes taking ball one from Munoz. It is 13-0. Minnesota is leading the Tigers. Leyes got in on the action back in the 6th inning. He singled home a run to get an RBI. Let's see. Every Twin who started except for Gagne got a hit tonight. And Leyes has 2 hits. Number 16 for Minnesota. Tiger Stadium in Detroit. And the future of this ballpark. Rather controversial now, but a lot of interesting aspects of the ballpark. The upper deck in right field, very reachable. And it also overhangs the lower deck. That's the look if you're standing right beneath the upper deck, near the foul pole. It overhangs by maybe 10 or 11 feet, the lower deck. And, of course, the bullpens. Not the best view if you're stuck down in those bullpen dugouts. Up the middle, and Reboulet has a hit. Jeff Reboulet singles to center. Now, if you're sitting in those bullpens, that's the view of this game. You know, you've got to take a radio or something down there with you. You got to order cable if you sit in that bullpen. And then out in center field is the flagpole in the field of play. Of course, it's what, about 425 feet away from the game. Look where the center field is playing in relation to that flagpole. But there have been balls that have hit that flagpole, and there's a lot of arguments started by that flagpole in the field of play. Here is Gene Larkin now, pinch hitting for Shane Mack. Larkin, who drove in the winning run in Game 7, one of the great games in World Series history. One of the greatest. He drove in Dan Gladden now with the Tigers in the 10th inning to make Jack Morris a winner and to make the Minnesota Twins the world champions. Gene Larkin out of Columbia University. 258. He started the year at first base with Herbeck on the disabled list. He's got a base hit, just barely. And Leyes will score. Going to third base is Reboulet, and Larkin has a double. Fan interfere with the ball down the left field line. And it will be ruled a double for Larkin and a run batted in.
They're going to let Reboulet score as well.
So it's a 2-run double.
They're going to call interference with the fan. Here comes the fight now. This young fellow wants the baseball. And they're scrambling for it.
Well, they'll escort that fellow from the ballpark. You go after a ball in play, that is not allowed, and you're not allowed to stay in the ballpark. Subject to prosecution if you do that. On fan interference, it is up to the umpires to decide to the best of their ability what would have happened. Tigers, Travis Fryman and Scott Livingstone have been talking this over with third base umpire Rick Reed, and now Sparky Anderson will come out also. The score is now 15-0. But the umpire just has to say, I believe that this would have happened if the fan did not interfere. It is not a ground rule. A lot of people will say that that's a ground rule double. It has nothing to do with the ground rule.
Well, it's an interesting ruling, though, John, simply because he had stopped at third base. And that's what Sparky's saying. The fan interfered, made it take a little longer for my guy to pick up the baseball. And he had still stopped at third, so there should not be any... If there's interference, I mean, the guy should have only been given third base. I think that's what Sparky's saying.
I agree.
Because he definitely had stopped at third.
Sparky loses this argument.
Sparky doesn't usually argue very much. He really goes out and asks a question.
You know, usually you see just the opposite ruling, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen where the guy should have been allowed to score, and they make him go back.
Make him go back. I agree. That one, that's unusual there because, like I say, the guy, Reboulet had stopped at third.
Here's Chuck Knobloch. And it's a strike call to the outside corner. Knobloch is 1 for 3, 2 runs scored, and a run batted in tonight, hitting .321. 15-0, the Twins ahead. Nobody out here in the 8th inning. 13,789 the paid crowd tonight. And most of them are not here any longer. 0-2 the count.
I was going to ask, that was my next question. How many have stayed here to watch their entire ball game?
Out of the 13,000?
Yeah, out of 13,000.
Yeah, I think 789.
Okay.
Sports Center next. Next. But not, I mean, immediately next. We've still got to finish the ball game here.
We're in the 8th inning. And
I wonder how it's going to turn out.
Twins do not look like they're about to slow up.
They lead 15-0. You know, Frank Tanana started tonight for the Twins. I worked the game 1980 when Tanana was still, yep, she's not leaving. Tanana was still with the California Angels. The game was at Fenway Park. Tanana went into the bottom of the 9th inning leading 20-0.
No.
Yeah. He was ahead 20-0. And then he gave up a 2-run homer to Dave Stapleton to make the final 20-2. It would have been the worst shutout loss in the history of the Red Sox. But Tanana gave up the home run in the 9th inning. Tom Kelly's used up his entire bench tonight, giving his regulars a little rest and giving some at-bats to those guys off the bench. Kelly is very adept at that. Cecil, he's got it from his knees, and Munoz gets the put out at first. Oh, Nelly.
That was a nice play.
Beautiful.
I mean, if you make that play in a 1-0 game, they're giving him a standing ovation. That was really a nice play. Cecil just kind of standing over there, you know, 13-0. Then they chop it down the line, and he got the bad hop. It stayed down. It didn't bounce up. It stayed down. That's why he had to get down on it and ended up throwing from his knees.
Get down, Cecil.
Down.
Now get up. One out. Larkin at third base, and Jarvis Brown, the hitter, and he takes a strike. 0-1. 15-0 Minnesota leading. Canyon is 0-2. You know, the Tigers next month, about what, 3.5 weeks from now, will be the anniversary of the day the Tigers were facing the Boston Red Sox in 1953. And you know how many runs they gave up in one inning of that game? 17. Is that unbelievable? In one inning against the Red Sox, June 1853, the Tigers allowed 17 runs. That's in one inning. See, this is nothing compared to that. Way outside, 2-2. The all-time lopsided game in Major League history involved the Red Sox as well. They beat, I think it was the St. Louis Browns, 29-4 at Fenway Park. And that old friend of yours, Ted Williams, played in that game.
He was probably about 5 for 5.
And in that game, a guy named Sammy White got 3 hits in the same inning. Was it that game? One of those games.
One of those.
Maybe the 17-run inning against the Tigers. Maybe that was it. 3-2 the count to Jarvis Brown. 15-0, the Twins ahead. And a ball 4 to Jarvis Brown. He walks. Earlier it flied out. 6th walk allowed by Tigers pitching. Munoz, the 4th Tiger pitcher of the game. Chili Davis comes up. Chili's had 2 singles. He's walked. He's been hit by a pitch. He's driven one deep to center. 15 runs for Detroit, 18 hits for Minnesota. 15 runs and 18 hits. The Twins were already leading the majors in hitting. And now that'll go up. Look out down there. 0-1. Just wanted to see if you're still awake. Twins, by the way, had got 15 hits in a game 1 week ago today at Cleveland. That was their season's high. And 10 runs had been their season's high. Well, they have 15 runs and 18 hits in the same game. Both season's highs. Right field. The catch by Deere. The throw home. Here's the play. Double play. Cruder blocked Larkin right off the plate.
And that's not exactly what you want in the cold weather like this if you're Larkin to have to crash into the catcher. Deere comes in, makes the catch, makes a fine throw to the plate all the way in the air and right on line. And Cruder blocks the plate and tagged Larkin out.
We're going to get a new pitcher with the Twins. We'll tell you about him when we come back.
Red Devil enamel. You can always count on its durable finish. Harder than ordinary paints, its beauty lasts and lasts. Red Devil enamel for the finish of a lifetime.
Want to win a free trip to Cancun, Keystone Resort, Hawaii, or Florida? Just find the Energizer Bunny. Not here, here, in specially marked packages of Energizer batteries. And you could win one of thousands of prizes, the Energizer Sweepstakes. If he's in there, you're out of here. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Must be 18 years or older to play. Entrance must be of human origin. Not applicable if used during a total eclipse of the sun.
2 outs. Time run on second. He's got power. He hits to the gap. Moves.
Nobody does baseball like Upper Deck. Look for 2,500 personally autographed cards by Ted Williams now in Upper Deck foil packs.
This is beautiful.
How much?
Pulsar?
Pulsar.
I think he wants your watch.
Some things in life are worth far more than they cost.
No, thank you.
Pulsar, there's no time like it.
15-0, the Twins leading the Tigers. But a nice play by the Tigers to end the first half of the inning.
Deere makes the basket catch, comes up and fires a strike all the way in the air, and Kruder blocks the plate. See him stick his left leg out there, blocks the plate, and knocks Larkin off the plate and tags him. Look at his left leg in the baseline, no place for Larkin to go, and then he hits him with his shoulder before he gets to the plate. Very nice play, nice throw by Deere, and a nice block of the plate by Kruder.
And here is Mark Carrion to lead it off against the new Minnesota pitcher. As Bill Kruger, with 7 shutout innings, hands the ball to Carl Willis, who was a key player out of that Minnesota bullpen last year. He really filled a void in that bullpen. They needed a setup man, a kind of a middle man, and he was beautiful in that role, getting the ball to Aguilera, who's a great closer. But this year he struggled.
Right, but like all the Twins pitchers who we've talked about, they've actually struggled, and so has Willis this year. But he feels like he's back on track now anyway. He said, looked at some films and a couple of things he was doing wrong. He straightened them out.
Also a new left fielder for the Twins, Munoz, moving over from right field here in the 8th inning. And there's Gene Larkin staying in the game to play right field. A ball and a strike. Last of the 8th, 15-0, the Twins ahead. And Willis misses low with ball 2. 2-1 the count. Willis is one of these well-traveled fellows who finally came out of nowhere after all of the years of frustration and a fine big league season. It is 2-2 now. Willis starting with Detroit all the way back in 1984. Then to Cincinnati, up and down with the Reds a couple of years. Little look-see with the White Sox. Back to the minors, and then to the Twins last year, and he hit it. And Carrion hits it down the right field line, base hit. Right after the game, Sports Center on ESPN. In your face. Yeah, Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. In your face, buddy. Here is Travis Fryman. You know, Joe, you mentioned with Shane Mack hit a grand slam tonight, had another bases loaded at bat later in the game. You mentioned Tony Cloninger, the 2 grand slams in one game. And he was a pitcher with the Braves. He did it at Candlestick Park. The Braves won that game at Candlestick 17-3. And Cloninger, in addition to the 2 grand slams, drove in another run. He had 9 RBIs himself in that game. On the third base line, and that is foul. 0-2 the count. And Fryman tonight 1 for 3. Fielder on deck.
Yeah, Cloninger could really swing the bat.
You know, I mean, sometimes strange things happen in baseball. 1978, when the Toronto Blue Jays were in their 2nd year of existence, That's a ball low from Willis. They're playing the Baltimore Orioles. You know, Orioles, great pitching, established franchise, pennant contender. And one night in 1978, the Blue Jays beat the Orioles 24-10. I mean, does that make sense? And the best pitcher the Orioles put out there that night, Elrod Hendricks, a catcher. A ball and 2 strikes to Fryman. Yeah, these people are not leaving. They have not given up the hope that the Tigers will do something in this game. Wouldn't want to leave and then see that they scored 16 runs right after you left. Is that what they're staying for?
No, I think they're just staying to watch the ball game.
They like it.
Yeah, I don't think they feel the Tigers are going to come back.
Broken bat looper. That's a short hop by Reveille. And double play.
That was a nice turn at second base by Knobloch. Nice play by Reveille to backhand it on the short hop. But that was a fine double play. Again, if these plays are made under different conditions, they look great. See, that's a tough play. Now look how quickly he gets the ball to second base. Knobloch comes across, fires to first. Double play.
Here is Cecil Fielder.
Nice play again, started by Reveille. Knobloch comes across the bag, cheats a little bit, and he gets his man at first.
Fielder with a huge swing. 0-1. Fielder has walked, struck out, and popped to second. 51 homers 2 years ago, 44 last year. He's got 8 so far this year. Looking for that first big streak of home runs. Did he swing?
Yes.
Yeah. 0-2 the count. Coble on the field made the call from first base. Fielder looking a little frustrated.
Well, the pitch was way off the plate inside, so he's upset with himself for even starting after it.
That's a foul ball off the foot of Fielder. 0-2 the count. Fielder would like to get himself going here. He has been something extra special these last 2 years. You know, last year his home run total was down a little bit to 44 from 51, but his RBI total increased.
Well, he became a better hitter last year than the year before. But that was out of necessity, because if you had 50-something home runs, next year they're going to pitch you so tough it's unbelievable. So to have back-to-back years like he had is really amazing.
The shortstop, Reveille, with a high hop. And Fielder goes down. We're heading to the 9th inning now. It is Minnesota 15, the Tigers nothing.
I know I should use a tartar control toothpaste, but mine tasted too strong.
Introducing mild-tasting Tartar Control Crest Smooth Mint Gel.
You were right about that crest. My mouth thanks you.
It's tough on tartar, soft on you.
If you don't like the looks of your car, shoot it with Son of a Gun from STP. Shoot the dash, seats, tires, and roof. Son of a Gun protecting. Man, what a difference.
Wild and tangy.
There's a new Pringles. Barbecue. Pop the wild, tangy taste of new Pringles barbecue.
This is light.
Pringles Light. These are light? Let's put Pringles Light up against these bag chips. There's 25% less fat in Pringles than in these. And they're a lot less greasy. Once you pop, you can't stop.
They're tiny portraits of a people with personalities as varied as our own. They sing of our heroes, echo with our history. There are as many reasons to love stamps as there are people who love them. These are stamps worth saving. Ask for the baseball stamp at your post office now.
Baseball triple-header tomorrow, exclusively on ESPN, 4 o'clock Eastern. The Dodgers and the Cardinals. The Dodgers really struggling. Now Eric Davis is on the DL. The Wizard, Ozzie Smith, in the first-place Cardinals, 7:30. Barry Larkin, the Cincinnati Reds, loaded with talent. And the Mets, Bobby Bonilla, red hot. Then at 10:30, the Pirates and Barry Bonds against the Padres. And those 4 300 hitters led by Fred McGriff, the slugger. ESPN. He doesn't look like he has much conviction behind that sign, though,
no.
does he? Here we go now. Top of the 9th inning. It'll be Webster to lead it off, followed by Pedro Munoz and Randy Bush against Mike Munoz. 15-0, the Twins are ahead. 15-0.
I was going to ask you again. You sure? We usually have extra inning games 2-1 or 4-3. This is maybe our first big blowout, isn't it? A couple of years.
We had one once, Toronto at Milwaukee. The first year of Sunday Night Baseball. It was kind of lopsided. Rob Deere and Webster is out number 1 here in the 9th inning. Bill Kruger, the starter for the Twins tonight, and he was outstanding. He'll get his first win. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that he will, predict that he will. 7 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts, and he lowered his earned run average to 1.86. And he continues to be the man in that Minnesota rotation. I mean, he has given them a strong outing almost every time out.
I was talking to Andy McPhail, you know, before the ball game, and he was saying, there you see Sean Hare over at first base. He was talking about the fact that the great thing for the Twins the last couple of years is they've been able to ride on one pitcher early in the year until everyone got their act together. And this year has been Bill Kruger. Last year, of course, Scott Erickson was just unbelievable the first half. And Bill Kruger has kind of filled that role for them. And he figures that the rest of them will get their act together and the Twins will be on their way again.
That's a strike. 2-1 to Pedro Munoz. 1 for 4 with a walk and a run batted in. I mean, this is a club that had 2 20-game winners from last year, Erickson and Smiley. Tapani, 16-game winner. And the guy who's keeping the staff together is Bill Kruger, who was with the Seattle Mariners, who just let him go.
Right.
They got nothing for him. And the Mariners, the thinking goes, and they cleared the salary decks to make way for Kevin Mitchell's salary. They did not re-sign 3 different pitchers. They couldn't afford them. Scott Bankhead, and there's another guy I'm thinking of, Rob Murphy, left-hander, and this fellow, Bill Kruger. Well, and they could use those guys right now. They could use Kruger.
They could definitely use them. I don't understand the philosophy about the money simply because Billy Swift, Mike Jackson, and Dave Berber all went to the San Francisco Giants, and you add all 3 of those up, they should have been able to afford Mitchell right there. But
they trade those 3 pitchers, and then they let 3 others go and got nothing for them. That's 6 pitchers they had to replace.
And that's what I'm saying. That's not a good deal there.
Right after Sunday Night Baseball, after John Miller and Joe Morgan wrap it up. Stay tuned for Sports Center, which follows with Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. Here's Randy Bush, and he takes low.
It's interesting, John. You take a look at the Giants now, you know, with Kevin Mitchell gone. Last year was Mitchell, Clark, you know, and Matt Williams, the 3 big sluggers in their lineup. Now they've become a pitching-oriented team in that they were leading the National League going into the weekend, you know, on their run average. Billy Swift, of course, is 6-0 and has done a great job, you know, coming over. So is Mike Jackson and Dave Berber. So the Giants have gone from a home run hitting team now to a pitching team.
Ryman throws out Bush. And we are heading to the last of the 9th inning. Treadleton, Deere, and Barnes coming up. 15-0 Twins.
Make a great decision. There's no time like today. Make a great decision. There is a way to make your whole life change. Education that can get you where you want to be. Excellence in higher learning is the key. Make a great decision. Make it Blackhawk College.
Look closely. It's our beautiful but troubled planet Earth.
All week long, beginning May 25th, the Discovery Channel presents a status report on our world. See the bad, environmental terrorism, dangers of fluoride, nuclear testing.
And the good. Recycling, preservation efforts, and profiles of people leading the fight to save our home.
The State of the Natural World, May 25th through the 29th at 10 p.m., only on the Discovery Channel. It's on cable, Cox Cable.
Have you ever had an instant party? It's easy, and you don't need balloons. Just stop by Subway and order a sack of different subs. Take them home and slice them up and serve them family style. It's more fun because everyone gets a taste of everything. So if you need to feed 100 people on short notice, if unexpected guests drop by unexpectedly, or you just don't feel like cooking dinner tonight, pick up a sack of subs at Subway. We specialize in solving emergencies with food.
For more information on these and other fine sandwiches, visit the Subway near you.
Twins 15. Tigers nothing. Sunday night baseball from Detroit. The College World Series begins this Friday, May 29th. From Omaha, Nebraska. 4 o'clock Eastern, the first game. And we hope you'll make your plans to tune in again for the College World Series. So many players you see in the College World Series end up in the big leagues soon thereafter. A lot of good ones. Here's Bob Kipper, the former Pittsburgh Pirate. Both he and John Smiley, former Pirates, now with the Twins. Mickey Templeton, the hitter. Fouls one back off to our right. And it is 0-1. That ball hit off the net in front of Ernie Harwell's old booth, the WJR radio booth here at Tiger Stadium, where Ernie no longer reigns. There is Rick Riz on the right, and on the left, just above the W, that is Bob Rathbun, the 2 new voices of the Tigers, and very fine broadcasters. Rick Riz for many years with the Seattle Mariners, and I think that if the fans here give him a chance, that he'll grow on them, and over the years, they'll be well served by Rick Riz, the new radio voice of the Tigers, and Ernie Harwell with Paul Carey. Partners here for a long, long time. 2 great broadcasters, 2 great gentlemen, and they're very much missed here in Detroit. 2-1 the count to Templeton. There's a high drive down the left field line into foul ground and unplayable for the left fielder Pedro Munoz. 2-2 to Mickey Templeton. Mickey Templeton, this guy was with Oakland, and they decided that Terry Steinbach was their catcher of the future, and they got rid of Mickey. And Baltimore signed him, but only as a AAA player. They brought him up in the end of April in 1988 in a terrible year. They liked what they saw from Mickey, had his best year ever. And in 1989, when the Orioles made a great resurgence, Mickey Templeton in some ways led the way. He had 26 home runs that year and missed a month of the season on the disabled list. Made the All-Star team. Then had a very poor season the year after, and the Orioles traded him. Pop fly, backpedaling his knob block. Ended up being a great trade for the Tigers. Templeton hit 31 home runs last year. Not many catchers do that. Next Sunday night, we'll be at the Kingdome in Seattle. Wade Boggs and the Boston Red Sox. Ken Griffey Jr., the kid, Kevin Mitchell. Seattle Mariners, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. And that will be next Sunday night's game on ESPN. Seattle off to a terrible start in the Western Division under new manager Bill Plummer. There's ball 1 to Rob Deere, 0 for 3 tonight. 15-0, the Twins lead the Tigers, last of the 9th. Bob Kipper trying to wrap this one up for Minnesota. High pop-up. Way up there.
And
Knobloch, what a play.
No joke. Some of these plays we're seeing, although the score is 15-0, would be great plays under other circumstances. Here, there's not a lot of pressure, but this is a great play. Larkin does not call. Now, Knobloch leans out and makes a good play. Second baseman, let the sure man have it, I guess.
Larkin said, you know, I'm really a first baseman. I haven't played out here much. You just go ahead. You ran so far out here, I'd like to see you catch it. Skeeter Barnes, the hitter. 2 down in the 9th inning. This is one of those nights for the Tigers. Mark Anderson's looking for any bright spots. I guess he just said the best thing about this game was that it ended.
And it didn't rain. No rain delay, as they had yesterday.
0-1 the count. That's a ball outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, Felipe Alou, now the manager in Montreal. We talked about that earlier. First Major League game I ever saw, Joe, was at Candlestick Park. Alou hit a home run. The Giants beat the Dodgers 19-8. April of '62. You could look it up. Mays hit one. Davenport. Stan Williams was the starter that night for the Dodgers. And you remember a guy named Billy O'Dell?
Norton Stan, he hit someone too, didn't he?
I don't know, but he walked a lot of guys. I know that. Ground ball to shortstop. Reboulet. Lovell to first, and the game is over. The Twins have won it 15-0, and they're heading home for a good long time now. Right in the thick of things, the world champions beating up on the Tigers tonight. They take this series 2 out of 3. 15-0 the final. And next week, we will be at the Kingdome in Seattle. The Mariners and the Red Sox, Boggs and Griffey, Mitchell and Clark. A lot of interesting players in that one. From the Kingdome in Seattle next week. Now stay tuned. Sports Center comes up next. Now this is John Miller for Joe Morgan. Thank you for joining us tonight. Final score once again, the Twins 15 and the Tigers nothing. Kruger the winner over Tanata. Now from Detroit. Good night, everyone.